Welcome to Up Tempo on SicEm365 Radio. Call us on the Impact Health Labs caller line at 254-339-1122. For your company's mass COVID testing, log on to impacthealthlabs.com. Here's Drake Toll.
And we are live. I'm Drake Toll alongside JD Piquel and Armstrong Sims on a muggy Wednesday. And JD, a huge day in sports yesterday across the board. And today things get even better as Baylor continues to solidify their offensive staff. Breaking news with Kim Mulkey yesterday that she has COVID-19 and the team has restricted all activities for the time being. That said, Dede Richards will not be able to join us today at 12:45 because of that. But we have a full slate planned. And man, what a week it is in sports. Big news all around.
There is no shortage of news. What a week for us to start the show, too. I mean, hire after hire. Unfortunate news with, obviously Coach Mulkey, but we're still going to go up tempo. We're still going to keep this pace, pedal to the metal, and throttle through, huh? What do you say?
We're going up tempo, baby. Get in on the action, 254-339-1122. Those of you watching on Facebook, Periscope, and YouTube, hey, feel free. Download the SicEm365 app. Hit live. You can listen to the entire show live. Close out your phone and not have to stick to that same medium the entire time. Be able to close it down. Do a little bit of shopping on eBay. Go and check out the forum and still listen to SicEm365 Radio. Up for us today, a nice little guest list. Again, we've had some great guests so far across the board.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. It's honestly spoiled.
We got Hunt Palmer at 11:30, an LSU beat writer, insider. Vic Valoria, the new Baylor strength and conditioning coach coming from LSU to join Dave Aranda. We'll have Hunt Palmer on to talk about him. He knows a lot about Vic Valoria, a guy that I still have a lot of questions about. I don't know a lot about him, but I'm excited for the hire.
I'm so excited to talk about what Vic Valoria is going to bring to the staff, what we're going to expect from this team, having a whole new strength staff, a new guy running the show for the strength staff. I mean, that is really, like I mentioned yesterday, you spend the most time in the program with your strength staff. You don't see your other coaches during the winter.
Yeah. See
the strength staff.
What is today?
Today is Wednesday. Today is New Intro Wednesday.
It's Baylor basketball game day. The Baylor Bears, the Oklahoma Sooners squaring off at the Farrell Center tonight. 12:05. We got Parker Thune coming on 24/7 Sooners. He's got a beat on Oklahoma, a team that knocked off a top 15 West Virginia team in their last ball game. Oklahoma is going to be a tough tough team to bout with tonight. Again, D.D. Richards slated for 12:45, could not call on today as the team has restricted all activity. And then Baylor Bear insider Jerry Hill at 1:15 today to talk the Oklahoma and Baylor game. How about this, JD? We're going to play the green and blank game today. We'll still do that later on the show. This day in sports history, celebrity birthdays, and we've got world, what did you call it?
I called it World Hits Wednesday in a up-tempo group message. I don't know if that's the official name we're going with, but I think that's a nice ring to it.
I'll tell you, it's not world hits.
Okay.
I mean, the songs aren't world. Well, I don't know. What defines a world hit? What's that?
I mean, it's a hit somewhere else in the world was kind of the angle I went, or it's a hit in other countries, well, then potentially.
The songs I've compiled do not fall under that category.
Are we sure?
Well, I mean, they're hits everywhere in the world.
Oh, so they are world hits then, potentially.
Boom.
I guess.
We'll play that later on.
But they're not like world music, though. They're like other
Yeah, they're
genres.
not world music.
Okay. Speaking of music, dude, fire intro by our boy Forrest.
Oh, yeah,
absolutely
I forgot.
amazing. And I say our boy like we're like somehow employing him, but I mean the fact that he did that for us started the show so hot. I mean, that's like coming down a half pipe into this show.
Yeah, no kidding. Forest of Services, Sunday best, feeling good, like I should.
Yeah.
Went and took a walk around the neighborhood.
That's
Come
the one.
on, you guys. Come on with
Yeah.
the new intro. Shout out to that guy putting that together for us.
Enormous.
On one of the biggest bands of quarantine, really blowing up Services.
Dude, yeah, enormous.
Got the
Enormous.
offensive hires on the Baylor side. Jeff Grimes, the new offensive coordinator from BYU. Vic Valoria, strength and conditioning coach from LSU. Chancey Stuckey, wide receiver coach coming from Clemson. Ryan Pugh is the new offensive line coach. He was the offensive coordinator at Troy. We have the voice of the Troy Trojans coming on tomorrow to talk about Ryan Pugh. He was their OC. That's a big job, no matter where you are. Sunbelt OC coming on as the O-line coach. Sean Bell moving to quarterback coach. He's been everywhere, man. I mean, all across the offensive staff, and now he lands at quarterback coach. Guess what position Sean Bell played in college?
Quarterback.
Guess what position he played in high school?
Quarterback.
Middle school?
Probably quarterback.
Pee-wee?
Center.
That guy, Pop Warner?
Center.
That guy.
I mean, have we fact checked that?
We have
Do
not.
we know?
He was an all-star Pop Warner quarterback as well, and he's a new quarterback coach of the Baylor Bears. So congratulations to him moving over to that position. Juice Johnson is retained as the running back coach. And the big question for me across the offensive staff that you and I talked about yesterday, where does Joey McGuire fit into this mix? We know that Garrett McGuire, former star Baylor quarterback, for what he was, an unbelievable mind for the game, has moved on to Carolina to coach in the NFL with Matt Rule. Yep. And now the question is, Joey McGuire, one of the very best recruiters in all of college football, where does he go? The speculation. Now, oddly enough, folks, Joey McGuire is continually retweeting, I'm the guy. I know that like every college football coach says not to be this guy, but I'm the guy that looks to Twitter as my source for a lot of different things.
Oh, me too.
But when a coach is still tweeting things about a program that he is tied to or a part of, that typically means he's still tied to or a part of the program.
Yeah, you would at least see radio silence, you would think, if he was going to go somewhere else, or you would at least maybe be a little less active on Twitter or something like that. But the fact that he's continuing to retweet positive things about Baylor, we're not necessarily like digging deep into our almanac of facts that we could get on him, but those seem like the most reliable sources right now.
There are those that track planes. There are those that track locations and Zillow searches. I'm the guy that tracks a Twitter header.
Can you track Zillow searches?
I don't,
Is that a thing?
The Tom Herman thing, it seemed like a lot of people would track.
Cool.
Remember that with him and Urban Meyer, which Texas didn't hire Urban Meyer?
Yeah, shocker.
But you've got, with me, I track Twitter header changes. The day that Joey McGuire changes his Twitter header is the day that he's no longer a Baylor football coach.
Or bio, yeah.
Or bio, that's true. I'm watching the Twitter constantly, but his name has been tied to Texas. And if you're watching the Texas coaching search right now from an offensive standpoint, because they're trying to compile, they're trying to compile their entire staff.
Yeah.
Because you've got Sarkisian coming in, most likely going to wipe out everybody that was there. A lot of questions at who the next defensive coordinator is. Will Muschamp declined the job, said, I don't want it. I'm not coming back to Texas.
Yeah, been there, done that.
Barry Odom at Arkansas, spent 1 year at Arkansas, gets the DC job at Texas, which you think is bigger. It probably is, may pay even more.
Probably.
Barry Odom says, no, I'm not going to Texas. So Sarkisian 0 for 2 early on in his defensive coordinator search. I don't think that's a good sign if you're Sark moving into the burnt orange and white. And I mean, he hasn't made a splash yet. Will he?
Does that say more about Sarkisian, or does it say more about Texas as a whole? Because if I'm a coach and Texas is a potential landing spot for me, I mean, Texas versus the field,
right?
The pressure from boosters to be able to do your job. I mean, we've heard it multiple times. Texas is probably the hardest place to be a coach because you have so many other hands from boosters kind of trying to mess around with what you're trying to do as a coach. And as a coach, they say Mac Brown was so good at it because he just was able to block out everything else, and he once nobody else bothered him. But now that you have so much money going into this program, everybody and their mother wants to have a say in who's going to call this play, that play. Like, there's just so much other things involved with the Texas job. So I don't blame Muschamp for saying, no, I'm out. I don't have any issue with that. I think that makes a lot of sense.
So we got Baylor OC coach, Baylor strength and conditioning, wide receiver, O-line, quarterback, running back, as we see the offensive staff fill out. Baylor women's basketball again canceled in the wake of Kim Mulkey testing positive for COVID-19. Not only that, their game against Kansas State this weekend has been postponed. They will not play that until later on in the year. They got to play that when it's a conference game, so they will see Kansas State later on, just not this Saturday. And the game against Kansas is still up in the air. I think that's on the 13th, and Mulkey's not slated to be back quite yet for that. Mulkey's target return date is January 15th. So as long as she has no symptoms, she can come back to the program then, and things can go back to business as usual with that squad. How about that guy right there? Vic Valoria, the new strength and conditioning coach from Baylor. You saw there were a couple viral pictures last year of the S&C coach at Baylor, just all bulked up and beefy. Yeah. But that right there, put it on a poster, put it above my bed. That is the just the amount of clout and
testosterone.
Find me a brick wall.
A lot of testosterone.
Find me a brick wall
for sure.
Vic Valoria, strength and conditioning coach at Baylor. And JD, you played college football.
I did.
Cornell, 4 years, came to Baylor and played for a little bit. Tell me this: how vital is having a great strength and conditioning coach?
No, it's huge, and it sets the tempo for not only your program, but just your entire culture. A strength coach can really make or break what you do on the football field. And at Cornell, everything we did came from our strength coach. So everything that we did on the field, your attitude on the field, comes from your strength coach. So I think it's big from a culture standpoint as well as just lifting weights. Everybody in the country is going to lift weights and be strong, but those that can do it the best and do it in the best way from a culture standpoint, that makes your program. That's why Alabama's so good. That's why Georgia's so good. That's why those schools are able to propel themselves above the rest, because they stay healthy and they're stronger than everybody else. And they recruit really well.
Riverbend Liquor and Wine text line, Scotty B. the Baylor King says, offensive staff have at least met my expectations, but to get names like we did, for sure, I say definitely exceeded expectations. I would agree with that, JD. I assume you would too. We've got a guy in Chancey Stuckey that a Clemson beat writer compared to Dabo Swinney yesterday. I asked him in jest, I said, so basically what you're telling us is we're getting Dabo Swinney, and he said, Yeah, you are. This is a guy that was molded by Dabo when he was a receiver coach in the early 2000s, and now Chancey Stuckey comes to Baylor. And the Dabo bubble, it's not like Alabama's offensive rehabilitation center for coaches. The Dabo bubble, you stay at Clemson for a long period of time, and so to get somebody out of that, huge hire for Baylor.
Yeah, one could say you kind of get Stuckey at Clemson for a while. Bam! It's Wednesday, baby. We're here. But no, honestly, that's a great name if you're a receiver coach too. Stuckey. That's an awesome name. But you said it perfectly. If you go to Clemson, you're at Clemson for a while. You don't leave Dabo Swinney unless it's someone that you really trust running the show. And so the fact that Jeff Grimes and Dave Aranda have attracted such a phenomenal staff, that speaks volumes to them as people, speaks volumes to them as a football coach. So, talent follows talent. So the fact that we got all these great hires coming in is really exciting. The only concern I have is that we're going to get kind of George Munoz again. It's someone who's really promising and exciting. I don't think that's the case, just so that's on the record. I'm very excited, very pro Chancey Stuckey. But I would encourage Baylor fans to temper their expectations and allow Stuckey to grow into this role as he continues to just becoming the best receiver coach in the country.
Yeah, and Munoz is one of those guys that coached well, really well at LSU and led one of the best offenses in the entire country. He's a bit older, though. Chancey Stuckey's only 36, 37, and brings a lot of juice and fire to the program. So excited to have him on board at Baylor. We got Steven from Virginia on the Impact Healthline caller line, 254-339-1122. Get in on the action. Text us, call us. You can tweet us. Can they Instagram us? Is that a thing?
Armstrong, do we know?
Did the kids?
Yeah, they can.
Do the kids do that now?
They Snapchat?
They can message us?
What about MySpace? We on MySpace?
No, just tweet us.
Okay.
I think...
if you don't have Twitter, download Twitter, follow us, and then...
If you have Instagram, I don't know. Can they?
Okay.
Anyways,
they can find a way. Steven from Virginia, you're on with SicEm365 Radio's Up Tempo.
Hey, guys. What I wanted to bring to the show today was something... A little comparison. When Baylor was really in their heyday under Coach Briles, no matter how many points they scored, I was always, I don't want to say embarrassed, but I always felt like we did not care about penalty yards or penalties, and we committed a lot of penalties, and there were a lot of undisciplined things going on the field, rough targeting plays, and it became apparent in big games.
Yeah.
I think the Cotton Bowl is the biggest, where I'll never forget the kicker getting, punted by the Michigan State defensive lineman and then having the worst look on his face like he had just missed a kick against Kansas, not in the Cotton Bowl. And the thing that impresses me so much about Dave Aranda and the coaches is the character of the people and the character of the team. And to me, this is part of what being at Baylor is about. And, JD, I want to ask you this specifically. I played baseball and basketball. I didn't play football. I've always felt that football teams take on the personality of their coaches. And we could see that a lot at Texas because I felt like a lot of times when Texas got in the hole, you could see those players kind of acting like jerks like Tom Herman. So it really, when I see the high-quality character individuals that are a part of the program, it really gives me a lot of hope, and it makes me feel a lot better, even if the record isn't 11-2.
Yeah, Steven, I think you make a great point. As college football coaches, we're seeing it more and more. You're becoming, and we're seeing this here as the kicker just gets absolutely his clock cleaned. Oh, my goodness. All right, but as a whole, college football coaches today, you're so much CEOs as much as you are coaches. I mean, you're developing a brand, you're developing culture. And I think you said it really well. If you're a player, you take on the personality in some respect of your coach. And I think what you said about Briles, I don't know so much about the character, or I'm not going to go down that rabbit hole, but it was a very different, unique coaching staff in the sense that they also, from what I've heard, had no super concrete playbook. Like a lot of it was drawing plays up in the sand. So that was a very unique situation. But I can speak from my short time with the program last year with Coach Rule, gritty, disciplined, blue-collar, hardworking team, and that was the exact same words I would use to describe Coach Rule. So all that's to say, as a coach, you absolutely cultivate a culture and you cultivate an attitude that your team takes on 1,000%, and that's more so going to be something that you earn when your coach is well-respected throughout the team. I mean, coaches that aren't respected, that's when you see more and more of those issues within the program, within the team. I don't want to know. I don't know for a fact what that looked like at Texas, but can say with utter certainty that was the case with Baylor in terms of how they embodied Coach Rule's personality.
All right, Stephen from Virginia.
Yes, sir.
I got some Bear games for you right here. Today's bracket matchups: Cyril Richardson or Seth Russell. This is tough.
This is really tough.
Cyril Richardson is a great offensive lineman,
Yeah.
But I have a soft spot for Seth Russell. I'm probably going to have to keep advancing Seth Russell until my soft spot can't prove that it's right.
Literally, Outland Trophy finalist, Jim Parker Award winner, unanimous first-team All-American Cyril Richardson.
Unbelievable.
Corey Coleman or Phil Taylor?
That's Corey Coleman.
Yeah, good call. Katie
but
Cannon.
I do like Phil Taylor from Baylor.
I do like Phil. Yeah. Katie Cannon or Antoine Goodley?
This is the hardest one of the day. Katie was a much more explosive player. Antoine was a much stronger player. I voted on the poll online for Katie Cannon, but I'm taking my vote back because Antoine Goodley graduated. So I'm voted for Antoine Goodley.
Antoine Goodley gets the nod from Stephen from Virginia. And Stephen, our final Bear game. Who wins the basketball game tonight between Baylor, Oklahoma? Final score prediction and leading scorer for Baylor.
I've got Baylor covering a 20-point win, something like 88-68, and a leading scorer being Adam Flagler or LJ Cryer.
I like it. The young guys getting involved. Stephen, thanks so much for your call. As always, love to have you on the show.
Thanks, guys.
All right, JD, big game tonight, Baylor and Oklahoma. What do you got?
I got the Bears. I don't know if I have them by 20 points. 20 points is a lot.
Oklahoma's good. Oklahoma's really good.
20 points is a lot, but I think Baylor's going to continue to roll. Want to see Jared Butler continue to be the guy that we're building around, or I shouldn't say building around, it's already built, but continue to be the guy that we're feeding consistently and have him be the one that carries this team because he's just such a phenomenal talent. And so I got the Bears. I don't know if I have them by 20. Let's say I got the Bears by 7. Butler's leading scorer with 19.
Nice. I like that. Got Butler had a slow start against Iowa State, so it'd be good to see him kick it off tonight and start hot. A lot going on around the country last night with Super Tuesday in college basketball. A bunch of top 25 matchups. We'll talk about those here in a little bit. Heisman Trophy was awarded to Devontae Adams. Any objections in the room?
Devontae Smith.
You keep saying Adams.
Devontae Adams probably would win the Heisman right now, too,
big Packer guy right here.
Probably would.
He was on my fantasy team, so I got to give him as much plug here on SicEm365 Radio as I can.
I love it.
I don't. Devontae Smith, Heisman winner. I think that if Mac Jones would have won the Heisman, or if Kyle Trask would have won the Heisman, even Trevor Lawrence, the world would have burned down.
Yeah.
College football would have been no more.
I was really interested to see that there was, after the top 5, Breece Hall was 6, I think. Kyle Pitts was 10. There was a lot of guys that made the list that I was really interested to see. Also interested to see that Kyle Trask finished as low as he did. Was he 4?
Yeah.
3 or 4?
Not only that, Zach Wilson. I wasn't surprised Kyle Trask finished at 4.
Really?
What do you
he was ahead of Trevor Lawrence, I would think.
Yeah, but Lawrence played, 2 or 3 less games?
No, I mean, Trevor Lawrence was 3, wasn't he?
No, yeah, Trevor Lawrence was ahead of
Trask.
Of Kyle Trask.
I'm saying I don't think he should have been.
I think he should have been.
Really? But Trask had better numbers, across the board.
Trask didn't win as much.
Yeah, I guess we into that conversation of is
also
it
Trask
your best team
and
college
Florida
football?
was a punk team this year.
They were going to make the playoff until they lost to Bama.
No,
lost
punk
to
is in personality. They remind me of the U in the 80s, but not good at football. And you can't be the U in the 80s if you're not that good. Florida was good.
You're pretty good.
Florida was good.
They were going to make the playoff until they lost to LSU.
But you can't talk like you're national championship caliber and then crap on half of your games.
So then Kyle Trask in it, though. I don't think Kyle Trask got penalized for that.
I'm probably penalizing Kyle Trask because of his head coach, Dan Mullen, and everything Dan Mullen said.
That's fair.
Cross-college basketball last night, Iowa State at Texas. Did you watch that game in the Irwin Center? Texas 78, Iowa State 72. It was close down to the wire. Iowa State's playing really good basketball right now.
Yeah.
They're just not winning.
Yeah. They're going to be a team that hopefully Baylor doesn't catch at the wrong time because they're going to continue. Yeah. I mean, teams that have close games early, they just continue to trend upward at the right time or the wrong time, depending on who you're playing. They end up sneaking out those wins. So hopefully Baylor can catch them while they're still on this downswing a little bit.
Kansas at TCU, number 6 Kansas. They got smoked against Texas at Allen Fieldhouse just a couple of days ago. Well, now they go to TCU in Fort Worth, 93-64, and knock off the Horned Frogs. Hey, not the biggest fan of Kansas basketball, but if they're beating up on TCU, I'm not going to complain. Number 13, Missouri. How about this? They were ahead by 12 at halftime against unranked Mississippi State. Final score, Mississippi State 78, Missouri 63.
Wow.
Yeah.
They turned it on. They got some nitrous, huh?
Comeback upset right there for Mississippi State. And then in conference, Texas Tech was at home against Kansas State. Yeah. Texas Tech hasn't impressed me that much. They're going to be kind of inconsistent. Yeah, they've got a lot of new players, kind of young.
I like Mac McClung.
Yeah, I like Mac McClung,
Mac McClung's fun to watch.
He could have been a Baylor.
I know, man. Baylor. I know. I would have loved him at Baylor.
And
also,
how about
not a McDonald's All-American? It's kind of crazy.
McClung?
Yeah.
Yeah, that is unbelievable.
Fun fact.
McClung is good. He's good. He's been good. How about this? Hockey last night. I know. We're a sports show that talks primarily football, basketball, baseball, softball, the like, Baylor sports. But national hockey, the Junior USA, I just saw this on Twitter and thought it was cool. The Junior USA hockey team wins gold, stunning Canada in the Junior Hockey Championship, which resurfaced this video from 10 years ago that this might be my new favorite video on the internet, Armstrong.
1, 2, 3. USA versus attitude, USA. Oh, mama, don't you cry. Oh, mama, don't you cry. USA hockey is do or die. USA hockey is do or die. Take a hockey stick in my hand. Take a hockey stick in my hand. Go on off to a foreign land. Go on off to a foreign land. Play said I'd be a star. Play said I'd be a star. USA hockey will go very far. USA hockey will go very far. Take the Gatorade in your glass. Take the Gatorade in your glass. We
Why did it cut out at the end there?
I don't. Show me to every brick wall.
Idea.
Yeah.
God bless America. What?
That's probably the most patriotic thing I've ever seen.
That's insane.
So patriotic.
The rabbit hole of USA Junior Hockey.
I started to put my hand over my heart during it, and I was like, wait, this isn't the Pledge of Allegiance or the National Anthem.
We got to hit a break here in like a minute and a half, but I want you to tell your Olympic story for the rest of the world to hear. I want this to go on record because that's maybe the coolest thing I've heard.
I appreciate that. I mean, Olympic story is really generous term, but I love that you're hyping me up that much. Yeah, so before up-tempo became a thing,
long ago.
Before, yeah, way back in the day. Before, I guess it was during our post-game days, but
Was it seriously? Was it that recent?
It's probably during the post-game days, yeah. So there was a U.S. Olympic bobsled tryout, or I guess they call it Olympic trial camp, that I very seriously considered and got invited to, which would have been amazing. And seeing that video got me feeling pretty sentimental. I'm like, dang, that would have been so cool. There was no guarantee I make the team, but there was 15 athletes invited, and was one of them that got invited to go try out for the program, which would have been an amazing experience, but too much going on in Waco to pass up.
Did you guys hear that? J.D. Piquel played 4 years of college football at Cornell, goes to Baylor, plays college football at Baylor, gets invited to try out for the Olympic bobsledding team to represent the United States of America.
Appreciate it. You're hyping me up. This is why you're such a great co-host.
Our own J.D. Piquel. You're kidding me. This guy's unbelievable. Armstrong?
But then he said no to be on this show.
He did. The loyalty.
I would do it again, 100%.
Loyalty in his DNA. All right. Lot going on around college sports and Baylor in general with the offensive hires across the board. Got a special guest coming up with us after this break. How about we get Hunt Palmer on here, LSU beat writer, comes on to talk Vic Valoria, the new strength and conditioning coach at Baylor. This one's going to be a good one, man. Mm-hmm. Another one of those coaches like Chancey Stuckey. I didn't know anything about Chancey Stuckey until yesterday. We had the opportunity to talk to Will Vandervoort, who broke it down for us and gave us inside information on Stuckey and what he's done at Clemson. And now I'm a huge fan. And I'm assuming the same thing will happen with Vic Valoria. I'm just impressed. Yeah. We keep finding these guys. Like
y'all keep finding these guys.
If you come to me and you're like, hey, listen, I know Baylor's assistant offensive quality control coordinator is a great coach, and he's coming to our school. Will you come on our radio show and talk about him for a while? No.
They're just like,
what am I going to know about that, you know? And I feel like I know a decent amount about the Baylor staff, but it's these people that Baylor is finding, the diamonds in the rough that are hidden in these big programs that have national championships across the wall, and now you're bringing them on board here at Baylor, and we have the opportunity to talk to guys that have been around them, worked around them, and know a lot about them that see, hey, these are diamonds in the rough, and it's time for them to shine.
Man, over under 2.5 mentions of biceps during our conversation with Mr. Palmer.
I'm going to hammer the over.
I'm going to make sure it's over because I have so many questions about his policy on biceps and triceps because that is the most important muscle in the body when it comes to performing at football.
Bear games today. I'd like to remind you, Cyril Richardson versus Seth Russell, Corey Coleman versus Phil Taylor, Katie Cannon and Antoine Goodley are squaring off. And you can get on the action. Who wins the basketball game tonight? What's the score? And who's the leading scorer? I'm Drake Toll. That's J.D. Piquel. Armstrong Sims is behind the mothership. How about a little bit of Armstrong's Minute? We'll be right back after this break on Uptempo.
News broke yesterday afternoon that after returning to the team, Baylor women's basketball coach Kim Mulkey tested positive for COVID-19 after being exposed to the virus by a family member over the holiday. In the wake of the announcement, the team canceled their top 10 matchup with UConn in Waco, slated for Thursday, and postponed their game with Kansas State, scheduled for Saturday, while also restricting team activities. Mulkey's target return date is January 15th. In national news, Alabama wide receiver Devonta Smith becomes the first player at his position to win the Heisman Trophy since 1991, totaling 1,500 yards receiving and 17 touchdowns this season on 98 catches. Clemson's Trevor Lawrence finished second in voting for the award, with Alabama's Mac Jones landing at third. In college basketball Super Tuesday, number 4 Texas barely escaped Iowa State on the road, winning 78-72. 6th-ranked Kansas stomped TCU in Fort Worth 93-64, and unranked Mississippi State overcame a 12-point halftime deficit to trounce number 13 Missouri 78-63. I'm Armstrong Sims, and that's all the news that is news in college sports. This has been Armstrong's Minute on SicEm365 Radio's Up Tempo.
with your Ram truck from Allen Samuels. You may not have to plow through snow and mud or pull heavy loads, but you could. During the Big Finish year-end event, you get a Ram deal like no other. Employee pricing for all, 0% for 84, and no payments for 90 days. Ram 1500 Lone Star for Christmas. No other truck comes close. And ask about Big Finish pricing on Ram Heavy Duty and Ram ProMaster for your business. Happy holidays from Allen Samuels.
How did Edward Jones become one of the biggest financial service companies in the world? By not acting that way. Financial strategies, one-on-one advice, it's a big difference. And that's why Brad Wilson, your Edward Jones financial advisor, makes sense of investing. Experience the difference for yourself. Brad Wilson, 250 Sharon Drive in Woodway, 254-776-4337. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
At Ideal MRI, we feel blessed to be a part of the Waco community. We're a small family business right here in Central Texas, and our goal is to bring down the cost of healthcare while maintaining high quality. At times like this, the cost of healthcare has never been more important, and unfortunately, significant illnesses and injuries still occur. That's why Ideal MRI is open and here to serve you through the difficult time. We offer premium MRIs just like a hospital with state-of-the-art technology and specialists, but you'll pay less. Sometimes thousands of dollars less, whether you're using insurance or not. At Ideal MRI, we accept most insurance and there are no hidden costs. Even offering financing if that's needed, everything included in the price, and you'll not get something as a surprise in the mail later on. If you need an MRI, ask your doctor about Ideal MRI. They'll know. You can schedule an appointment safely from home online in minutes at idealmri.com or give us a call, 833-IDEAL-MRI, idealmri.com.
Texas Farm Bureau Insurance has protected fellow Texans with auto, home, health, and life insurance since 1952. With more than 260,000 square miles of land and 27 million people, that's a lot to cover. Whether you're wrangling cattle or wrangling kids, we're proud to protect Texans in all Texan ways of life.
Stop by and see our agents at one of our 3 McLennan County locations.
Coverage and discounts are subject to qualifications and policy terms and may vary by situation.
Waco Custom Marketplace is your home for holiday favorites for parties and the time with family. Various specials available in-store and online. A variety of steak gift boxes with 4 ribeyes for $70, 4 bacon wrap fillets for $55, or 4 New York strips for $50, and all come with steak butter. Fall snack box for watching a game or wrapping presents or hosting people at your house, including summer sausage, split horn, and jalapeno cheese, and salted crackers for only $35. 2 pieces of lobster tails with herb butter and 2 bacon wrap fillets for $60. Order online or call in advance to ensure availability, or drop by Waco Custom Marketplace at 425 Lake Air Drive. Waco Custom Marketplace has a full-service butcher shop for customized orders or cuts of your favorite steaks or beef tenderloin or specially ordered prime rib roast. Plus, what you want with pork, poultry, seafood, and more. Waco Custom Marketplace, 425 Lake Air Drive in Waco, or wacocustommarketplace.com.
Welcome back to Up Tempo on SicEm365 Radio.
Bring it back into the Petty Clinic Low T Bear Den. I'm Drake Toll alongside JD Piquel and Armstrong Sims. We're joined by Hunt Palmer, who hosts the LSU football pregame and postgame. Hunt, thanks so much for coming on and talking Vic Valoria, Baylor's newest addition to the offensive staff, our new our new strength and conditioning coordinator. Hunt, thanks for joining us. And man, sorry that we've been stealing so many guys from the old LSU pipeline in the last year or so.
Well, I appreciate being on with you guys. Happy New Year. That's okay. Generally speaking, when things go well, people move on and get promotions, and that's just fine. If nobody's taking your staff, you're probably not very good.
Yeah.
That's a good way to say it.
So for a guy like Vic Valoria, and I know, I mean, it's just been an absolute raid for Dave Aranda since he left. What can you tell us? So one of the things we talked about earlier in the show is how when you bring on a strength and conditioning coordinator or a wide receiver coach, an OL coach sometimes, people don't know exactly who you're getting. All they're reading is what the analysts locally are saying, and typically that's the good stuff. What can you tell us about Vic Valoria that we may not know, and who are we getting as the new strength and conditioning coordinator at Baylor?
Well, here's what I know. Vic has spent time in Texas, which is a good thing for you guys. He went to college over there at SMU, and he's spent some time at LSU. He's been at 2 big-time programs. He was Jimbo Fisher's strength and conditioning coordinator over at Florida State. Jimbo left to go to Texas A&M, and Vic came over to LSU and has worked under Tommy Moffitt. That's another thing I know. And Tommy Moffitt is a legend in strength and conditioning. He has been here since 2000 when Nick Saban brought him on. Les Miles got the job after Nick Saban, kept him. Then they fired Les Miles and Ed Ogeron came on, and they kept him. And he's been here 20 years. They've had 16 coordinators on offense and defense. He's been the strength and conditioning coordinator the entire time. So obviously he does a lot right. So what you've got in Vic Valoria and the strength and conditioning coordinator is a guy who has been in Texas where you are, has been at 2 championship level programs, and has worked under what may be the best strength and conditioning coordinator in the country. So those are all really good things. He's a young guy. He's got a ton of energy. He obviously spends enough time in the gym himself when you look at him. He's a jack dude. And look, the strength and conditioning coordinator is not something that gets a lot of play, but it's a big deal. I talked to Ed Ogeron. I've talked to Les Miles. During the summer, that's the only coach that has the team. The offensive coordinator can't work with him. The defensive coordinator can't work him. The head coach can't be with him. The strength and conditioning coordinator has those guys throughout the entire summer. So it's an important deal, and I think that the Baylor's got a good one.
Hunt, what can you tell us about Vic Valoria's philosophy, if you will, on strength and conditioning? That might be a little bit of a extensive question to ask, but
sure.
What can you tell us about what he wants to do with this program? What's going to be different for this team?
Well, it's difficult for me, candidly, to say what the assistant strength and conditioning coordinator's philosophy is. I've never interviewed Vic. I've seen him working around. I've seen his energy level. But what I can tell you is that Tommy Moffitt is big on numbers and monitoring things. They've got a ton of sensors on people during practice to monitor mile per hour. They're obviously taking care of what guys are doing in the weight room. There's a lot of things other than you need to eat some protein and get in the gym and max out your squat reps. There's a lot of science. There's a lot of methodology behind it. And I would imagine that he would take a lot of that. Baylor's a program that's got plenty of money. This is not a guy who's going from LSU to somewhere on the FCS level. Baylor's got plenty of money that can provide him with the things he needs. Dave Aranda has seen the way that LSU's strength and conditioning program has worked for his players. He's not going to spare any expenses there. So I would imagine you're going to see a guy that's big into analytics, big into numbers, and then of course high energy, in the summer in the weight room, and then on game day when they're on the sidelines going nuts, yelling at everybody on defense.
So, Hunt, one of the things that we've talked about in hiring the offensive coordinator, Jeff Grimes, a couple of days ago, the question was for Baylor, do you want an OC who's a great play caller or a great developer? And then my question for the S&C coach, do you want a guy who is your hype man that gets everybody fired up, or do you want a guy that really digs in and knows the numbers and is by the books from a weight, strength, and conditioning standpoint? Are we getting someone who's more hype train, hold up your fours, or a guy that's by the numbers, get you in the weight room and get it done there?
No, there are goals, there are weights in terms of how much you want to lift, how strong you want to be, and what you want to actually weigh as a physical human. That's the most important thing. That's the hardest thing to do, is to monitor that and to make sure everyone is hitting their weights. You got to get, offensive linemen to gain some weight. You need your defensive linemen to shed some weight. You're moving a guy from safety to linebacker. You need him to put on some pounds or vice versa. That's the most important. Anybody can yell at a bunch of people. That doesn't take anything. This is a guy that's going to come in and be sure that everyone's hitting their marks, hitting their goals. And that's something they monitor every single day at LSU. And I have no doubt it'll be the same thing in Waco.
Now, in my experience with strength coaches, you kind of have 2 different kind of characters. You have one guy who's kind of going to be the CEO of the whole weight room and sort of allow the different rack coaches to be more hands-on with the players. Then you have the strength coaches that are literally in your face while you're doing your max squat rep. Which one of those categories does Vic Valoria fall into?
I think the second one. I know Tommy Moffitt's like that, and of course that's obviously what I keep going back to, but it's what I know best. He's been here for 20 years, and Vic's been here for quote unquote 20 minutes, and he'll be moving on. But they're going to be hands-on. They're going to be in the face. Obviously, there's an element of delegation that has to go into 85 scholarship guys and 120 guys on scholarship or whatever it is. So you can't monitor everything all the time. You've got to delegate some, but it'll be hands-on for sure.
So we've got a lot of stuff here about how Vic Valoria has been on the front end at the different programs he's been a part of, as far as different utilities to measure athletes and their progression. And apart from that, though, apart from the numbers, when it comes to him working with Dave Aranda, You've saw Aranda up close and personal as a defensive coordinator. When you talk about a guy or a set of guys that have worked together, what kind of cohesion do you find when two guys come back together at a new program and have experience working together before?
I think it's huge in college football. It's not a must, but it's a big deal to have relationships and have guys you trust. Because like I said, Dave Aranda can't do everything. He can't oversee every offensive call, every defensive call, every rep in practice, every squat. He can't do that. You've got to trust the guys that are under you that are doing it. And obviously he saw enough in Baton Rouge to know that he trusts Vic Valoria to do that. And I think it's a big deal. And defensive coaches are very particular about how they want their athletes to look and respond. When John Chavis was here running the defense at LSU, he wanted it speed. That's all he cared about was speed. They were going to have some guys that were big enough, but he wanted to outrun everybody. And Dave Aranda was a little bit different than that. Dave Aranda obviously wanted to be very physical up front. LSU had bigger linebackers in his day than they did when LSU had a lot of speed guys under John Chavis. So I'm sure that those kind of intentions, those kind of floor plans are laid out, and that's what he's going to want to hit. And obviously he saw enough in Baton Rouge to trust him to make that happen. And certainly I don't have any reason to doubt that it will.
I would assume the perception among Baylor fans when hiring a strength coordinator from a conference like the SEC is, okay, we're going to get guys that look like they're from the SEC now. Is that fair to expect of this Baylor team next year with a new strength coordinator?
You know, that question probably holds a little bit more water 7 years ago when the Big 12 was throwing it all over the place and the SEC was still in the eye running it. I mean, does the SEC look that much different than the Big 12 now? Does Ole Miss look that much different? I don't think it's that much different. The field's spread. You got to throw it. You got to score. And so I just don't know that. I mean, obviously, nobody looks like Alabama in pads. I mean, LSU did last year, but it's a little bit different story. But the game has pretty much gone that direction.
Hunt, I love that. We have been saying that every day on this show. What's the big difference between the Big 12 and the SEC? There isn't anymore. I love that you brought that in. But, man, you know, you talked about Valoria and how he's been around one of the best S&C programs with Tommy Moffitt for so long, or that Tommy Moffitt has had for so long, and Vic's been able to learn under that. When you talk about the players and how they interact with Moffitt and Valoria, I'm sure you can speak better to Moffitt, so let's start there, really. Are these guys that absolutely fear the strength and conditioning coaches, or are they excited to get in the weight room every day and to juice up for these guys?
That's a great question. It's really the best question that's been asked because I do a lot of work in weekdays with T-Bob Hebert, who played offensive line at LSU from 07 to 11, and steadfastly says that Tommy Moffitt was his favorite coach at LSU. Now, that doesn't mean that he didn't get all over you at 5 o'clock in the morning in July when you need to get running 110s until you throw up. But Tommy Moffitt really believes in relationships and people, and he is part of LSU's recruiting efforts always. And I have to imagine, based on the little bit that I've seen of Vic Valoria and his personality, it's going to be the same. As I said, these guys are, and you got the whole team. I don't know how much the linebacker interacts with the wide receivers coach and vice versa. The strength and conditioning coordinator, they got the whole squad, and they've got to be on the same page with everybody. I know that Tommy Moffitt is, and certainly preaches that. And guys that have gone on to do great things like Scott Cochran, who was at Alabama for over 10 years and is now at Georgia as a special teams coach. But he was maybe the most famous strength and conditioning coach because of all the screaming and yelling that he does. They all believe the same thing. So I've got to think if you're coming off Moffitt's tree, absolutely, you've got to buy into all that.
Hunt, I have an equally important question. What's Vic Valoria's stance on biceps?
Well, all you got to just look at him. I think it's pretty simple. The guy's huge. He could bench press a truck. So I think that the stance is that they look good and they're attainable.
Okay, that's all I wanted to hear.
Yeah, we did. We really wanted the first-person analysis of Vic Valoria's physique and his biceps specifically. He seems like, when you look at a picture of him, he's a pretty intimidating-looking guy.
I mean, there's no doubt. He's got the tight shirts going. He's got the bald head. He's jacked. He can get. I mean, that's a guy that I don't want to be on the wrong side of. If he's telling me I need to show up somewhere at 5 o'clock and do something, I'm going to probably try to do it because I don't want to get on his bad side.
Do you know him well enough to get Drake and I and Armstrong all the program?
I don't know that I do, but look, he's headed your way. So all you got to do is reach out, make it happen.
Yeah, we'll make
Bring
that
him
happen.
up.
No, we'll get him on. We'll get
so
make that happen.
and with a guy like Vic Valoria, you talked about how crucial it is to have cohesiveness amongst coaches and guys that have worked together before. Even more so, The guy's got a national championship ring, multiple national championship rings on his finger, and you were in the center of that in Baton Rouge. How big is it that he has coached on the biggest scale of college football and has that ring coming into Waco?
Look, it doesn't hurt when you come into Waco and the head coach can wear a national championship ring and the strength and conditioning coach that you're talking to can wear one while you're coming in to recruit. That certainly doesn't hurt anything. It didn't get you to 1-0 next year, but certainly in recruiting, I know what works. I've seen it work. We can make it work right here. That matters to some people. It doesn't matter to everybody, but it matters to some and certainly isn't going to hurt.
Yeah, I mean, speaking to that a little bit more, does he leave for anywhere else besides Baylor? Was Aranda the key factor for him coming to Waco?
You never know. Everybody's different in terms of that. Some people are only motivated by money. Some people are only motivated by championships. Some people bring family in more often than not. Obviously, I think that Baylor's a very comfortable landing spot from him because he went to school in Texas. He's worked with Dave Aranda. Jeff Grimes is a guy that was at LSU as an offensive line coach when Dave Aranda was here. So obviously that's a connection as well. I think it's very comfortable. I don't know if it's the only place he would have left for, but probably a no-brainer to go from assistant strength and conditioning coach here at LSU to take a head job and to run that side of the program at a Power 5 school in a place you're comfortable with a boss that you know as well as he does.
So, Hunt, this is my last question here, and usually we play bear games on this show. Every caller and every guest, they answer a set of questions. It's very, it's Barstool-esque, if you will. But we're going to alter yours a bit today, because today's are all Baylor-related, and I don't want to throw you into the fire like that. So I'm gonna tailor
Kim
yours.
Mulkey, that's my answer. That's about what I got.
You have 12 bonus points to Hunt Palmer. I'm going to tailor yours a little bit different, though, today. Vic Valoria and a bear. Going one-on-one, toe-to-toe, you've got $100 on the line for one of them. Are you taking Vic Valoria or that bear?
I mean, can I see the bear? Are we talking about like a little koala bear? Are we talking about like a grizzly bear? There's a lot of bears. I feel like Dwight Schrute kind of getting into this, but what kind of bear are we talking about? I feel like Vic may get a nod depending on, how big this bear actually is.
This is a comparable bear to Vic Valoria. When he stands up, Vic and the bear look almost the same size.
I think Vic's got a little more competitive drive than the bear, so I'm going to go with your new strength and conditioning coordinator up there in Waco.
You guys heard it first here from Hunt Palmer. If given the chance to take a bear or Vic Valoria, you better be taking Vic Valoria. Hunt, thanks so much for joining us here on Up Tempo, and we are so excited to steal yet another LSU coach from you.
Hey, I'm pulling for Coach Aranda. You take me on the ride he did in 2019. I love that guy, and I hope he has a ton of success over there in Waco pulling for you guys, and appreciate you having me on.
Hunt, thanks so much again for joining us, and I look forward to talking to you soon. That was spectacular.
I wanted to ask him how many
Happy
push-ups
New Year, guys.
Yeah. What's that?
I want to know how many push-ups he can do, probably.
Oh, Vic Valoria?
No, Hunt Palmer. That would have been a good Bear Games question. We should start asking that.
We should. I bet we could have, I really want to get Vic Valoria on the show. What I love so much about this, and folks at home, I'm sure you would agree, Baylor keeps hiring people that I've never heard of, that you've never heard of, that Armstrong's never heard of, but that is the glory of this, is that you can take a guy in Chancey Stuckey or a guy in Vic Valoria or a guy in Ryan Pugh that I didn't know about a week ago and now analyze what they've done and been successful at the schools they've been to, and it is spectacular, the track record that Dave Aranda is bringing into the Baylor program, and I couldn't be more excited with the names that I now know, that I'm excited to know, that'll be on the sideline next season.
Just the King's riches of rising stars.
Come on.
Just like household names that will be household names in maybe 5 years. Like, we'll know about Chancey Stuckey. The world will know about Chancey Stuckey in 5 years, whether he's still at Baylor or not, fingers crossed. But you hit it right on the head. It's guys that we're all excited about because of all the resounding recommendations we've gotten from really reliable people. And it's all because of Dave Aranda. They love Dave Aranda, and that should be encouraging for Baylor fans too.
Here's the deal. I have seen at different programs where, take Alabama, for example, where Alabama will bring in a coach that has, years of experience and has been fired recently, and they'll bring him on as coordinator, you rehabilitate him, you send him back out. And they're typically not successful.
Like a JC.
Yeah, basically. You look at guys like Kirby Smart really built his own at Alabama, built his name and moved out of there. So I don't really count him. But look at Kiffin. I don't think Kiffin's going to be that great at Ole Miss, and he went through that rehabilitation program. Yeah, he won at FAU, but it's FAU. For me, almost at this point, I was an Arkansas fan with John Chavis. was hired, the chief was hired at Arkansas as a defensive coordinator, and that was the biggest hire in the world. And it was terrible. He had one of the worst defenses in the entire country. I cannot stand when programs bring a guy in to rehabilitate a coach that was really successful 15 years ago, and now he's just not anymore, as if that is going to do anything spectacular for your program, and you're going to jolt this guy. What Baylor is doing, they're going out, they're finding young guys, young names that have track records, that have rings involved in them, bringing them on staff a chance to prove themselves and build their own. This is not a staff of people that, oh yeah, I've heard of this guy, heard of that guy. He was good here, not that good here, not that great. These are guys that are consistent across the board, and I would not be surprised if the conglomerate of assistant coaches that have been hired would be head coaches or move up in the ranks in the next 2 or 3 years, and that's exactly what you want.
They all come from great programs, and they've stuck around at great programs. Like, they haven't jumped around from 4 different schools in 5 different years. They've been people that have been wanted where they are, and they're leaving on their own terms. They're not because they were fired are they leaving to go to Baylor. They're coming to Baylor because they love Dave Aranda and they believe in his vision, and they've been people that have, like I said, stuck around at these really reputable programs. And that's a big get. That's a
Get
big
on the
tell.
action at 254-339-1122. I'm 100% on board with that.
I'm on board.
I love
sold.
what Dave Aranda is doing with the staff right now. And I know I'm biased, but I'm seeing things here that in working in sports media that I have not seen before in putting together a staff, and that's bringing in guys that have experience, it's that quiet, subtle, if I'm an opponent, I hate that. I hate when my opponent is the quiet, subtle, chip on their shoulder underdog that comes in, proves their worth. These guys have something to fight for.
Yeah, if you're buying a stock, they're all kind of stocks that are peaking at the right time. Or just
100%.
about to boom. They're just all good. The trajectory is so far up for all of these hires.
Baylor's not hiring Brett Bielema. They're not taking your Lovie Smith and saying, you weren't that successful, maybe it works out here. They're not. They're taking guys that have something to prove. I think it's going to work out. We got a call on the line from Brady Peterson. Brady, you're on with Up Tempo on SicEm365 Radio. I know. Yeah.
There we go, Brady.
What's up, boys?
What's up, Brady? Brady was a high school teammate of mine, actually.
Let's go.
Just calling to get in on that conversation. Want to say what's up to my boy JD.
I love it.
Do you have a question here, Big Brady?
What are you guys talking about? Let me chime in. I don't have a question. Just
oh man.
Okay. So I'll give you some credibility here. Brady was a safety for the Naval Academy for 4 years.
Come on.
Went to Orange Lutheran High School. His dad was the offensive coordinator at Air Force for forever and came and coached us at Orange Lutheran. Brady, we're talking about all the offensive hires for Baylor right now. Give me your take on Baylor in the 2021 season. What's a realistic win total in your mind for the Bears?
Who did they hire? They
hired Grimes, Jeff Grimes, the BYU OC, as their new OC. They hired Chancey Stuckey, a guy who was at Clemson before, now the receivers coach. So a lot of good hires, a lot of hires that are going to be more valuable than when they came to Baylor. So a lot of guys that are up and coming that we're all really excited about here in Waco. A new strength and conditioning staff too, with Vic Valoria being the new head guy from LSU. We're pumped about him. Just had a caller or had a guest on that gave us some really good insight. Yeah, man, there's a pick of the litter in terms of exciting hires.
Yeah, well, honestly, I don't know too much about BYU, but I know that they played Navy week 1 this year, and I think Navy's defensive coordinator is one of the best in the country, and they scored about 50 on us. So
there you go.
I think he definitely knows what's up. I didn't follow BYU too closely. I know that their quarterback had a great year and everything, but.
Yeah, he was tough. He was tough. I love that.
Brady,
I'm with you, Brady.
Give me this, Brady. Baylor and Oklahoma play basketball tonight in Waco at the Farrell Center. Baylor ranked number 2 in the country. Oklahoma unranked, but they're good. They're going to play the underdog role very well. Give me your score prediction for the Baylor-Oklahoma game tonight.
Ooh, I'm going to say Baylor wins by 10.
Love it.
80-70.
I would.
It might be a little high scoring.
Yeah, I'd love that. Hey, Brady, think about Baylor has been scoring. They're averaging over 90 points per game right now. So you're definitely not off the mark there. I'd say 80 is a low number if you're a Bear fan at this point.
Which is funny because a year ago they were scoring 49 points in winning games, which is weird.
Hey.
No, it was like a game that was like 50-39 and that they won, which is phenomenal if you're taking the under, which I did several times last year.
Brady, thanks so much for your call, man. Good to hear from you.
All right, see you guys.
See you, Brady.
All right, now we got a very special World Hits Wednesday coming up on tap. Before that, though, running back through the guest list, man, we just talked to Hunt Palmer. I'm telling you, we have been so lucky with guys that have come on and just given great insight about the assistant coaches that Baylor's hiring and have really shed some light on these guys to let us know that we're in good hands.
Just hit after hit. Just hit after hit in terms of guest lists and hires.
Parker Thune coming on at 12:05. He covers the Oklahoma Sooners for 24/7 in Norman. He's going to come on and talk about the game tonight. We had D.D. Richards at 12:45, but due to the restrictions within the women's basketball program after Kim Mulkey tests positive for COVID, we will not have D.D. on today. We'll try to get her pretty soon whenever they come back to action. Again, the game against UConn on Thursday is canceled, and the game against Kansas State Saturday postponed. Jerry Hill at 1:15, Baylor Bear Insider, comes on to talk about a little bit of Baylor basketball action again, the number 2 team in the country. We've not been able to really give them enough credit so far this week, considering football has made so many splashes, but they're back in action tonight at the Farrell Center. If you can make it out, be a good game to go to and check out. We also have the Green and Blank game, this day in sports history and celebrity birthdays later on. Heisman winner Devontae Smith last night. A couple of these score predictions coming in as well on the Riverbend Liquor and Wine text line. James McGaw says 92-68, Bears by 24. I'd take that one too. I think 92 is a pretty good.
24 is a lot.
24 is a lot. Oklahoma
points.
can shoot really well. We're going to hear from Scott Drew and Davion Mitchell later on the show as well from their press conference yesterday where they talked about the Oklahoma game. How about this? We've got a video before we hit the Worldwide Hits Tuesday. What are you calling it again?
World Hits Wednesday.
How about this? We got Ryan Pugh mic'd up at Troy. We're going to talk to the voice of the Troy Trojans tomorrow. Armstrong, do you have that clip of him mic'd up? We're going to talk to the voice of the Troy Trojans tomorrow about Pugh and the hire at offensive line. But for now, how about this? Ryan Pugh mic'd up for the Troy Trojans.
Crank it up, let's go. Let's go, today's the day. Don't worry about nothing else, today's the day. Today is the day. Today is the day, get better. Pick out one thing in the run game and one thing in protection and get better at that today. Think about really driving him out. Instead of trying to do this on the block, instead of trying to go here on the block, I want to think about going here. Bam, and just driving my backside half like hell. Just boom. So I'm going to take a short open step. My second step's going to drive here, and I'm working my offhand, getting vertical. Okay, Bubba, I see you. Bubba feeling it right now. Bubba's the only man with 3/4 tights on. Oh, Dylan too. Y'all think y'all an athlete. Again, let's go. Y'all burning daylight. Look, feel the difference? That like looked like a football player. Might as well hold it. That's all you do. Why are you going to eat your money? Oh, that's what I like. I like that. Can I wear it? I'm going to start wearing a mouthpiece to practice and start headbutting people. Good. Hey, right here, as you get working to that on that baseball, and he tries to long arm you right there, long arm me. Here, y'all are throwing a hook, throwing uppercut, because watch what'll happen. As I work to him and I go here, I'm going to lift and drive through it. When I'm on the backside, bam, I got to hit, shock and roll. That'll bring my hips through me. Get your mind right. Hey, one of y'all get over here in this line. Y'all need me to help that? That's old school like there. Divide up the lines, be even, Grant. Next time I'll write it in a letter. Or, hey, better yet, I'll text it to you. You don't know how to fill out an envelope. Let's go. Set it down, Bobby. Hop, Bobby. Hop. That group up. Hey, Bobby. Boom. Refit. Hop. Don't get high. Set it. Jog it off.
I'm ready to roll.
Inject that in my veins. Ryan Pugh, the new offensive line coach. He was the offensive coordinator at Troy in the Sun Belt. Troy's usually pretty good, too.
They're decent.
And now you bring him into Baylor as the offensive line coach. Man.
He's the epitome of a football guy based on that clip.
It's
rough
guys
voice,
like that,
backwards
man.
hat, probably a sweat stain or two on it with the salt. He's ready to rock. I'm excited to get him on campus.
How about this? Carolina Panther QB coach. Little bait and switch right here. You know, Matt Rule goes from Baylor to Carolina, bringing along with him Joe Brady from LSU.
Sure.
Well, now the Carolina quarterback coach Jake Peets has accepted the offensive coordinator job at LSU, so that just went while
there you go.
Hunt Palmer, the LSU beat writer, the LSU postgame, pregame reporter was on the line.
He's
with
off
us.
his game now.
LSU
Hunt's a few
hired
minutes
an
behind
offensive
right now.
Hunt's a few minutes behind. We're breaking that to him. All right, we got World Hits Wednesday on the line. I'm Drake Toll. That's JD Piquel. Armstrong Sims has set this up. He's our producer. Here's what we're going to do. 25 seconds. 5 songs in that 25 seconds.
Mm-hmm.
Each clip is just 5 seconds of a song.
Okay.
And we have to guess the song and the artist. All right. So there's 10 points on the table in these 5 songs. You only get 5 seconds of each song. Are you picking that up?
Okay. Yeah.
Okay.
I can.
So
you got to write. You got to write fast.
Yeah, you got to write super fast. We're only going to play it twice. This is a hard. I have learned. I made this game, and it is significantly harder than I thought the game would be.
Probably, I made this one a little easier. So
probably because my prototype
Good looks out, Armstrong.
my prototype had a bunch of #1 hits on it, and Armstrong the other day was like, "Hey, here's this from the Gordon Lightfoot
from the catalog,
the depths of the Gordon Lightfoot catalog."
Thanks, Armstrong.
All right, Armstrong, hit us with World Hits Wednesday.
Times before with the girl next door, but that lead guitar is hot, but not for Louisiana man. I've got a sweeter song. Than the best. Like I was screaming at the referee, just like Mike, looking for a bright light. Seagull with.
Let's go! I got like all of these.
You got all of them?
Come on, kid.
Okay.
We're gonna play it one more time.
Let's play it one more time.
No clue.
That lead guitar is hot, but not for Louisiana man.
Drake knows this, I know.
Yeah.
I've got a sweeter song than the best. Like I was screaming at the referee, just like Mike, looking for a bright light. Seagull with.
That last one was actually deceptively tough.
Come on!
That last one was deceptively tough.
Come on!
All right. How many do you think you got, Drake?
I got at least 8 points on the board.
Okay,
right
JD, how many do you think you got?
I think I have 3 of the songs. So how many points is that? It's
3.
It's 3.
But if you can name the artist.
The artist. Okay.
Watch this.
All right, let's hear.
We can play it one more time. And I won't listen. I didn't tell JD. Yeah, that's the song and the artist.
I got the. I think I got. I think I got what I'm gonna get here, boys.
Okay, you got what you're gonna get.
I think I got what I'm gonna get here, boys.
All right, let's hear what you got in order.
I'm not changing mine. We'll go in order. You say first, and I'll say.
I trust you.
I got. Give Me One More Chance, Jackson 5.
You got the artist, but that's not the name.
Jackson 5, Want You Back.
Want You. Okay, I should.
Okay, so
okay. 2 and 3, dude. I have no idea. I'm gonna say 3 is Louisiana Man. I have no idea what.
Hold on, you just went so out of order.
I have no idea.
Song number 2.
2, I have no clue.
Song number 2 is James Taylor. I saw him live in concert.
That's correct.
That's James Taylor.
The song. Do you have the song title?
I don't have the song title.
The song title is Your Smiling Face.
Oh, that's good.
Okay. I should have got that.
Song 3, If You're Gonna Play in Texas by Alabama.
Correct.
Okay.
Did you know Alabama?
Dude, I had no clue.
Okay.
Had no idea.
You got to know Alabama if you're going to play this game.
This is why we play this game.
I had no
I'll probably throw Alabama in it every week.
Oh, my gosh. And what's the 4th one, JD?
My Girl.
Okay. Who sings it?
Harmonize with me. Talking about
my
girl. My girl. Is that not what it's called?
No. I was buzzing. I was buzzing. You're singing.
My heart dropped.
Who sings it? I also
who sings My Girl?
I wrote down My Girl.
Who sings My Girl? I don't know. Me and Drake now.
Okay. Drake.
It's the Temptations.
That's correct. That's correct.
See, all of these are like, I should have got this.
And then the last one?
Last one, Hands On, Kanye West.
No.
What is
It's
it?
Kanye. I know it's Kanye.
It is
I have
Kanye.
written down.
Hands
and
on.
Stretch My Hands.
Oh, wait. Hang on. Use This Gospel. No. Oh, dang it.
It's from that album.
Stretch my hands to
Hands
Life Flight.
That's right.
Hang on. Don't tell me. Hands on.
No.
It's not that song.
Well, okay, it's not Stretch My Hands. What is it?
It's Follow God.
Follow God. 8 points for me, like 4 for JD. I'm Drake Toll. That's JD Piquel. The Blonde Boys Power Hour, baby. Armstrong Sims. That's why we play the game. That's That's why we play the game. We'll be right back after this break with Oklahoma beat writer Parker Thune. For now, it's Armstrong's Minute on Up Tempo.
News broke yesterday afternoon that after returning to the team, Baylor women's basketball coach Kim Mulkey tested positive for COVID-19 after being exposed to the virus by a family member over the holiday. In the wake of the announcement, the team canceled their top 10 matchup with UConn in Waco, slated for Thursday, and postponed their game with Kansas State, scheduled for Saturday, while also restricting team activities. Mulkey's target return date is January 15th. In national news, Alabama wide receiver Devonta Smith becomes the first player at his position to win the Heisman Trophy since 1991, totaling 1,500 yards receiving and 17 touchdowns this season on 98 catches. Clemson's Trevor Lawrence finished second in voting for the award, with Alabama's Mac Jones landing at third. In college basketball Super Tuesday, number 4 Texas barely escaped Iowa State on the road, winning 78-72. 6th-ranked Kansas stomped TCU in Fort Worth 93-64, and unranked Mississippi State overcame a 12-point halftime deficit to trounce number 13 Missouri 78-63. I'm Armstrong Sims, and that's all the news that is news in college sports. This has been Armstrong's Minute on SicEm365 Radio's Up Tempo.
With more than 160,000 alumni worldwide and counting, the Baylor family is growing. And through the university's expanded Baylor alumni program, the family is growing closer. With hundreds of local volunteers planning events in cities and towns around the country, you can gather with fellow Bears no matter where you are. So, get connected, get something started, get involved, and make plans to get together with Baylor alumni. Visit us at baylor.edu/alumni.
Don's Humidor, your home with a 48-foot walk-in humidor with the elite cigar brands from around the world, including the #1 cigar of the year, Aging Room Cuatro Nicaragua. Plus, they have the great brands like Macanudo and Arturo Fuente, Rocky Patel, Aston, and so much more. CBD, great for sore muscles, aches and pains, sleep, Vita Dreams, and anxiety, mild depression, general health and wellness. Their staff very knowledgeable on the subject. If anyone is curious about CBD, ask Carol and Ashley. Don's Humidor in the Townwood Shopping Center off Valley Mills in Waco.
What you do in privacy is your own business. What you do in public with your truck, well, that's our business at Pickup Outfitters. In your garage, it's okay for your truck to parade around in the nude with no accessories. Hey, this is still America. But when you bring your truck out in public, it's just common decency to put an outfit on your truck. And that's where we come in at Pickup Outfitters. Put a cover on that bed. Cover your rear end with a bumper and a hitch, for goodness sakes. There are women and children on the roads. And guys, don't leave your tools exposed. Put them in a toolbox. Be proud of your truck and stand tall with a lift kit. Or improve your truck's posture with a leveling kit. Add some class to your pickup with new wheels and tires. Or dress up for a date with your new RV or boat with a fifth wheel or a receiver hitch. At Pickup Outfitters, we're dedicating to making the roads decent for all Central Texans. So when taking your truck out in public, remember your manners and accessorize it properly with an outfit from Pickup Outfitters. 220 Lake Air Drive in Waco.
Hey, this is Bryce Petty, former starting quarterback and two-time Big 12 champion, and I know firsthand the importance of being in top shape both on and off the field. So listen up, men. If you're feeling beat down day in and day out and looking for that high-performance edge that separates the men from the boys, then look no further than the Petty Clinic Low T in Waco. Petty Clinic is a comprehensive men's healthcare clinic with an atmosphere catering to men. Board-certified Dr. Kent Petty has a special interest in offering the highest quality medical care to men of all ages. Some of the services offered include screening and treatment for low testosterone or thyroid, infertility, high blood pressure, diabetes, high cholesterol, sleep apnea, while offering comprehensive wellness exams and complete men's health lab panels. High performance men, remember, it's not just a Petty thing. This is Bryce Petty, encouraging you to reach out and Google search Petty Clinic Low T or go to pettycliniclowt.com and get your complimentary lab screening today.
Welcome back to Up Tempo on SicEm365 Radio.
All right, we're bringing it back into Up Tempo. Drake Toll here. JD Piquel has stepped away as we begin the 12 o'clock hour. With a very special guest coming on with an OU beat writer, Parker Thune, talking about tonight's ball game between the Oklahoma Sooners and your Baylor Bears in the Farrell Center. Here he is, folks, coming right out of the break, hot and ready. Parker Thune, one of my favorites. My favorite celebrity in sports media, paving a way for himself over there in Norman. There's not much to do, but he's finding stuff to do. Parker, how are you? Wow. He's got the mute going on right there. Yeah, Parker, you just gave me your best mime impression. Although I'm impressed.
Am I on now?
Oh, you have got it. You landed it. Let's go.
There we go. What's up, Drake? Hey, you flying solo today? Is that the deal, man?
So what we got, and I'm glad you asked, just some clarifying stuff to put out. But my co-host, JD Piquel, who, like we talked about earlier, could have been an Olympic bobsledder. You missed that segment earlier on today. He was called to try out for the Olympic team, but he's switching back and forth between jobs as we speak right now. So he comes on for the first hour, the Blonde Boys Power Hour, and then hops off for the last couple hours. And myself and our producer Armstrong Sims roll with the rest of the show. But so we fly solo for the last 2 hours. I say that we fly duo with old Armstrong behind the mic as well. But man, glad to have you on today talking Baylor basketball. And I'm sure you'd be down here if it wasn't for the whole pandemic stuff and all that.
Yeah, that has had something to do with it. And obviously missed you in Norman earlier this year when, I guess last year now, 2020 is finally over. But missed you in Norman when the Bears came up to take on the Sooners back at the beginning of December. Wish you could have made it, but, COVID happens.
And what a game that was, too. A lot closer than most experts predicted, and Baylor's defense played really well, as they did most of this season. Two really good defensive teams. Surprisingly, welcome to the Big 12. We had an SEC analyst, Hunt Palmer, on earlier to talk about Baylor's new strength and conditioning coordinator from LSU, and he said, hey, really, there's no difference in the Big 12 and the SEC anymore. It's the same thing. And I don't think I could agree more, but when it comes to basketball, there's a huge disparity between the Big 12 and the SEC, because the Big 12, like Scott Drew told us yesterday, they've been the best conference in basketball 6 out of the last 7 years, and that is no different this season.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, just take a look at Texas, a program that's been on the up and up, granted, for the last few years, but kind of mired in the throes of mediocrity. And lo and behold, with Shaka Smart at the helm now, and what is it, his 5th year? Is that how long he's been there?
Feels like 35 with the hair, too. He's ever evolving.
Yeah, but I tell you what, now you got Texas, top 5 team. Baylor's obviously a powerhouse. Our Oklahoma Sooners up here in Norman, they're kind of floundering a little bit. I'm not convinced that that's a tournament team, at least as it stands right now. But they've got some talent and got some potential, as you saw over the past weekend when they were able to upset West Virginia at the Lloyd Noble Center. But yeah, when you talk about the Big 12, in terms of the conferences across college basketball that have a lot of teams that you look at as potential title contenders, the Big 12 has as many as any of them. And I got to give credit to Baylor because, your Bears, Drake, look as strong as just about anybody.
They do. They look really good right now, and they saw that for the first time really this season, a slip up against Iowa State in Ames. And even in a game where they didn't play that well, they still won by double digits. So you can see it's a team that's senior laden. I think with senior experience comes the fact that you don't have to play your best game and you can still find a way to win like they did in Ames against the Cyclones. But an Oklahoma program that is, I think you could say there's a lot of volatility with this squad. You don't know exactly what you're going to get. If they have an on-night shooting, it's over. They could very well come into the Farrell Center and win the game tonight. Lon Kruger is one of the best basketball coaches and most storied basketball coaches out there. And tonight's no cakewalk. This isn't one of your easy conference games. It's not like you're playing Kansas State.
Yeah, certainly. And with Oklahoma coming to town, Drake, and you mentioned it, this is a really streaky team that can put up a lot of points when they're hot, and when they're cold, they're not going to contend whatsoever. You saw that earlier in the year against Xavier when they went up to Ohio and just got buried by the Musketeers. The defense was kind of their bugaboo early on. They seem to have ironed some things out. And you got a couple kids in Austin Reeves and Brady Manick that can just straight up score. And Umoja Gibson, you saw him over the weekend really become the primary guy in that contest against West Virginia, was really lighting it up from downtown and giving the Sooners an additional scoring threat from the perimeter, which is one thing, if you recall, they were severely lacking last year, was a premier outside shooter, with the exception of Manick, who's a guy that more than likely has an NBA future. But he was really the only guy that could spot up and hit from downtown. Now you bring in Gibson, the transfer from North Texas, as well as Elijah Harkless, the transfer from Cal State Northridge. You bring in two guys that play tremendous defense on one hand, but are also excellent shooters, particularly Gibson, who was one of the best in his conference last year at North Texas. So Oklahoma is on the up and up. They've got growth to accomplish, certainly. And Lon Kruger, as you mentioned, a tremendous coach in that regard, a guy that's going to get the best out of his players more often than not. Are they ready to contend with a program like Baylor this early in the season? I'm not convinced, but really all it takes is one standout performance from Reeves, Manick, Gibson, what have you, to elevate the Sooners to a victory.
And you can see it right now. Jared Butler, as it sits, he's preseason conference player of the year. Butler's played really well this season, and even, again, in games where he has not starred, there's that next man up mentality, and Baylor's been able to make up for it with young shooting with Adam Flagler and a whole host of guards that can put it in the basket from deep. How about this, though? Austin Reeves, a native, if you this is neat for me, Cedar Ridge, Arkansas. Come on now. We've been watching this guy for a long time. Austin Reeves comes in. He leads the team in points at 16, almost 16 points per game, 5 rebounds per game, 5.5 assists per game. He is a dark horse candidate right now for Conference Player of the Year. And like you said, if he gets hot, home or away, the ball game could go either way.
Yeah, and you saw that in what ended up being the Sooners' last game of the 2019-2020 season when they went down to Schulmeyer Arena, took on TCU. Reeves poured in 41, including the game winner back in March, and would have put the Sooners squarely in the NCAA tournament field, and then lo and behold, we didn't have a tournament. But this year, it's really no different. You've seen Reeves grow all the more in terms of his maturity. He's very much a court general. 6'5", a guy that can shoot, can drive with equal aplomb. But in terms of his leadership, that's really where you've seen the most growth from Austin Reeves. And he's not the only guy that can beat you either. He's probably the guy that's most likely going to beat you on any given night. But as I mentioned, Brady Manick is a guy that's going to play basketball at the next level. He's that good a shooter. And at 6'9", it's so difficult to defend him because his release is so high as well that if he decides that he's going to drop a three on you, more often than not, that shot's going in. And you look at what they've gotten in terms of the contributions from the inside with guys like Jalen Hill and Kerr Queth early on in this 2020-21 campaign. The future is bright, and that's not just long-term. I think Oklahoma has an NCAA tournament ceiling this year. I think you're looking at potential Sweet 16 team. It's always, Drake, it is always a matter of whether they can keep consistent intensity and make sure that they stay at their current level of play, maintain that level of play over 30, 31, 32 games, whatever the regular season plus the conference tournament ends up being. Because you've seen Oklahoma in years past, and this goes back to the Trae Young days, you've seen them get off to hot starts consistently in non-conference play and early on in conference play. But you get to January, February, traditionally you've seen that lull from Lon Kruger's teams, and that usually knocks them back onto the bubble. They've ended up on the right side of it the last 3 campaigns, but haven't done much in the NCAA tournament. So the key for Oklahoma this season is just going to be making sure that they can maintain that consistent level of play over the course of an entire season if they want to contend for a Big 12 conference title as well as a Sweet 16 berth in the NCAA tournament.
Looking at the Sindarius Thornwell, South Carolina team that went to the Final Four that didn't look like a team that would make it past the first round of the NCAA tournament, and there were questions for them coming in, and they made it all the way to, the semifinal, national semifinal. Oklahoma reminds me a lot of that team with a solid guard in Reeves, and then you have Manick to back it up that can kind of do it all. But looking on the other side with Baylor, if you're Oklahoma looking at a game against the Baylor Bears, and we'll have clips later on in the show from the press conference yesterday from Baylor's head coach and Davion Mitchell, but where can you exploit the Bears? Have they shown any weaknesses that you've seen in what you've watched or heard from Lon Kruger this week where Oklahoma really looks to attack?
I think it's going to be less about exploiting Baylor's weaknesses, Drake, and more about utilizing the strengths that Oklahoma brings to the table, the certain areas where they can just decide that they're going to beat you. And I think option A1 in that regard is Brady Manick and his outside shooting ability. Because like I said, when you get a guy that's 6'9", 6'10", has a release that high and shoots the ball that well, that guy is your most impact player on the offensive side of the basketball. He's the guy that you turn to when you go up against a very viable foe like the Baylor Bears You say, okay, if we're going to win this game against a team that position to position is probably better than we are all the way around, you need to get a performance where it matters most from your best guy. And in terms of his ability to shoot the basketball and score, Brady Manek is still very much the Sooners' best guy. Austin Reeves is more versatile. Umoja Gibson might be a more reliable shooter. But I tell you what, when Brady Manek is on his game, and believe me, he is not on his game all the time. That's always the question, is Manek does have kind of a tendency to get up in his own head when he starts to miss. But when he is on his game, when he can find the cylinder with that basketball, he is as dangerous an outside shooter as anyone in the country. So I think the key for Oklahoma is going to be taking advantage of the strengths that they bring to the table more so than exploiting Baylor's weaknesses. Because if Baylor can shut down Manek, if they can turn this into the kind of affair where Oklahoma's having to get big scoring contributions from Reeves and Gibson, I think that plays to Baylor's advantage. But I think if Manek goes off and is able to give you 25, 30 points, then that makes it obviously a lot tighter of a ball game. And Reeves is going to get his. Gibson's probably going to get his. You're going to get solid contributions on the inside. But I think traditionally, over the course of Manek's tenure at Oklahoma, what you have seen is in games when he does well, the Sooners as a team do well.
Yeah.
When in games where he does poorly, the Sooners don't do as well. So he is very much kind of the thermostat of this team. He sets the temperature on the court. And so if Manek is able to bring it tonight against Baylor, I think you're looking at a tight ball game. If not, I think Baylor probably runs away with this one.
So we'll give it from a numbers standpoint here to wrap it up. Give me the numbers, the keys for Oklahoma tonight, whether it be Manek scoring, Reeves assist, Reeves scoring, or just, hey, Oklahoma needs to turn Baylor over 15 times. What are the numbers that you look to that if Oklahoma hits, they've got a chance to win or they do win outright?
Yeah, no, I think it starts with Manek shooting, as I mentioned. He's got to knock down a few three-pointers. He does, because if he's not shooting the ball well from the outside, then who do you turn to if you're Oklahoma, especially if you get down? Because Gibson's the only other guy really on this team that's a reliable outside shooter. So if Manek is off his game, that puts a lot of pressure on Gibson. So I do look at Manek's shooting as probably the most crucial factor. I also think Reeves' ability to distribute the ball becomes paramount. Because in games where you see Austin Reeves rack up a high number of assists, generally the Sooners' offense is functioning at a high level. And that's generally a good indicator that they're getting the ball inside, they're getting the ball outside, they're facilitating each other's scoring in a generally conducive sense. And so I do look at Reeves' ability to kind of be the trigger man in that offense as something that's going to be key for Oklahoma tonight. And then Kirk Weth on the inside. I think he's got to rebound well against Baylor's bigs, assert himself on the interior and give the Sooners some second chances when maybe some of those shots aren't falling. So those are the three things that I look at tonight as things that Oklahoma is going to have to accomplish on the stat sheet if they're going to hang with Baylor.
Baylor and Oklahoma tonight in the Farrell Center at 8 o'clock Central Time. That one will be on ESPN2. You can watch that, or, hey, if you're in the area, go ahead and grab a ticket. Come on out and watch the Bears play. All right, so here's what we got, Parker. I've got Bear games that we play at the end of every caller and every guest. They've got to play them. It's tradition at this point, and it's just a list of questions. Sometimes they're fun. Sometimes they're just a little bit out there. Today, we've got the Baylor second best bracket, 32-player bracket, where we name Baylor's second best football player of the last decade, because putting RG3 in a bracket is just not fair when you're in Waco. So Baylor's second best, we've got Cyril Richardson, an All-American offensive lineman who's a 2 seed in his region, against Seth Russell today. And obviously Seth Russell's leading because he was a quarterback and people love big names. If you could vote between the All-American Cyril Richardson or Seth Russell, who are you going with?
Oh, I give the edge to Richardson, Drake. I respect the offensive lineman.
Let's go.
I get I get the quarterback bias. I do. But at the same time, you mentioned he was an All-American. And I think had a lot more impact on Baylor's success on the football field than Seth Russell did in the grand scheme of things. So I give the edge to Richardson. You look quite pleased with that.
Hey, well, at least Cyril Richardson's got one vote on here. How about Corey Coleman or Phil Taylor?
Ooh, I'm a big Corey Coleman fan. Yeah. Obviously, he washed out of the NFL real quick, but he was fun to watch in the collegiate game. So I got to give it to Coleman on that one.
KD Cannon or Antoine Goodley? This is a play-in game, and it's tight right now. 2 wide receivers.
That's tough.
This is the toughest one, yeah.
Yeah, I liked watching Goodley a little bit more than Cannon, so that's a tight one, but I'll give it to Goodley.
Your score prediction for tonight's basketball game between Baylor and Oklahoma?
Oh, boy. Interesting. Score predictions with basketball are so hard.
Yeah.
Like with football, it's one thing because at least you can kind of get in the neighborhood, but shoot, give me Baylor 68-54.
Oh, wow. Defensive ball game tonight. I'd be interested to see that. Big fan of defense, which Baylor's played well, but when you're scoring 90, 95 points per game, it's tough to hold anybody under 60. So last question here for you. We're going back to yesterday's game, so I know you'll really enjoy this one. If you could arm wrestle for $100, one Big 12 football coach in a restaurant, who would it be and in what restaurant?
One Big 12 football coach.
Yeah.
Head football coach.
Yeah.
Okay. Gosh, let me think through my options here. Well, it's probably not going to be Dave Aranda.
No, former linebacker.
No, definitely not. You see, you got to take all the athletic guys out of the picture. Lincoln Riley's still probably still pretty athletic, so not him. Mike Gundy isn't that far removed from his football career. Not going to choose him. You know what? Les Miles is kind of the old guy in the room, so give me Les Miles. I'll go with Les.
Les Miles, you're taking him on an arm wrestle. What restaurant are you arm wrestling Les Miles in?
Ooh, that's tough. Well, let's see. If it's going to be in Lawrence or if it's going to be in Kansas, I guess I got to go with Brahms, right? Because you got to think Midwest. Yeah.
Les Miles and a Brahms.
Les Miles and a Brahms.
I love it. Parker Thune, 24/7 Sooners, 24/7. Thanks so much for joining us today, talking about the Oklahoma-Baylor basketball game, 8 o'clock Central Time tonight in the Farrell Center. Always love having you on, man. Hope you're doing well.
Yes, sir. We'll do it again. Take care, Drake.
I'll talk to you soon. Again, that was Parker Thune coming on, talking about the big game tonight. He's got Les Miles in a Brahms. Boy, what a place to have that matchup. Again, big game going on tonight, 8 p.m. Central. The undefeated Baylor Bears and the unranked Oklahoma Sooners, 6-2, coming off of their big win against West Virginia in Norman. That one on ESPN2. I'm Drake Toll. Armstrong Sims is running the show right now at producer. You can get in on the action at 254-339-1122. Couple more guests slated for today. I say that. We got one more. We lost Dee Dee Richards at 12:45 due to the team restricting their activities. But Jerry Hill is coming on at 1:15 to break down the Baylor-Oklahoma game from the Baylor side of things. And we'll keep on churning. It's 12:24, and this is Up Tempo.
News broke yesterday afternoon that after returning to the team, Baylor women's basketball coach Kim Mulkey tested positive for COVID-19 after being exposed to the virus by a family member over the holiday. In the wake of the announcement, the team canceled their top 10 matchup with UConn in Waco, slated for Thursday, and postponed their game with Kansas State, scheduled for Saturday, while also restricting team activities. Mulkey's target return date is January 15th. In national news, Alabama wide receiver Devonta Smith becomes the first player at his position to win the Heisman Trophy since 1991, totaling 1,500 yards receiving and 17 touchdowns this season on 98 catches. Clemson's Trevor Lawrence finished second in voting for the award, with Alabama's Matt Jones landing at third. In college basketball Super Tuesday, number 4 Texas barely escaped Iowa State on the road, winning 78-72. 6th-ranked Kansas stomped TCU in Fort Worth 93-64, and unranked Mississippi State overcame a 12-point halftime deficit to trounce number 13 Missouri 78-63. I'm Armstrong Sims, and that's all the news that is news in college sports. This has been Armstrong's Minute on SicEm365 Radio's Up Tempo.
From the first workout to the last practice, sports is an incredible challenge. Hi, this is Dan Ingham with the First National Bank of Central Texas, and we're proud to support each athlete, every parent, and our educators. From families, small businesses, to the biggest industry, we're here to help. With remarkable products like First Free Checking, we've got banking ideas that fuel big dreams. First National Bank of Central Texas. Familiar faces making local decisions.
Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
Camille Johnson Realtors guide you seamlessly through the process of buying your dream home or selling your current one. Commercial, farm and ranch, or residential, Camille Johnson Realtors can smoothly and successfully lead you through any transaction. With a team of 28 experienced agents who are excited about serving you, Camille Johnson Realtors services the entire greater Waco area. If you're in the market to buy or sell, contact Camille Johnson Realtors, 104 Midway Center in Woodway, or find them online at www.camillejohnson.com. Camille Johnson Realtors, elegant, charming, warm. Welcome home.
Bird Culture Ford has been in Waco since 1936. Ford, the #1 selling truck in Texas, 43 years running. And Bird Culture Ford proudly supports high school football in Central Texas. And no better way to tailgate with a Ford than from Bird Culture Ford. And are there better vehicles to tailgate with than the Ford F-150 or the Ford Expedition? And of course, you can get them new, pre-owned Bird Culture Ford. Our sponsor of the Ford Tough Player of the Week, locally owned dealership. Online at bkford.com at 1701 West Loop 340 in Waco. Bird Culture Ford.
The holidays are here, and I have a simple question for you. Will you weigh as much more or less than you do right now when the holidays are over? Why not end the year in better shape than when you started and create momentum for 2021? Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness has numerous options for stocking stuffer gifts with gift cards for gym or tennis membership, fitness merchandise, tanning, massage, tennis lessons, and personal training. Perhaps a gift for a client, a family member, or a friend. You just need to walk through the front door to change your life. Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness with personal trainers Christy London and Randall Corley. 40-plus group exercise classes, including twice-a-week boot camp. Spacious, clean workout room, free weights, Cybex cardio equipment, and no intimidation. A tremendous camaraderie and family atmosphere. So get the best and healthiest Christmas gift you can for someone or yourself. It's time to react today, not tomorrow, at Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness on Lake Shore Drive in Waco.
Learning to navigate life in the COVID-19 world has been a struggle, and where and how to get tested has been one of the biggest challenges. Impact Health Labs has your answer. If you need mass testing for your office, church, dormitory, or school, Impact Health Labs is who to call. They will come to you, conduct the testing at your location, and have the test back within 24 hours. Most major insurance accepted, meaning your out-of-pocket cost is low. So no more waiting by the phone for days to find out the results. Impact Health Labs was founded by 3 Army licensed and credentialed medical professionals. They believe in accuracy, efficiency, and doing the job right. Call 254-744-6233 to set up your group screening today. Impact Health Labs, on-site, prompt, and accurate, taking COVID-19 head-on. Again, that number is 254-744-6233 or online at impacthealthlabs.com.
Welcome back to Up Tempo on SicEm365 Radio.
And we welcome you back into the Petty Clinic Low T Bear Den. I'm Drake Toll alongside Armstrong Sims. Hires all across the country, including at Baylor, as they solidify their offensive staff. We're also talking the Baylor men's basketball team as they square off against Oklahoma tonight. We just had Parker Thune on, Oklahoma beat writer and insider. Parker talking about the big game at 8 o'clock. Jerry Hill coming on at 1:15 to talk the same thing. We'll have the green and blank game later on this day in sports history, celebrity birthdays, and a shout out to the World Hits Wednesday and how well that went. I really enjoyed that, Armstrong. Thanks for setting that up.
Yeah, that was a lot of fun. We got some good feedback on that instantly, so.
Beautiful. I love that. How about this? So looking at the Texas football hires, one of the things we discussed in the first segment of the show was Joey McGuire and him staying at Baylor as we reset here with the Baylor offensive coaching staff and what they've got so far. So as we sit, what I know right now and have written down, Jeff Grimes is the offensive coordinator coming over from BYU. He had Zach Wilson, who had an unbelievable standout season at BYU. Finished, 6th or 7th in Heisman voting, Armstrong. Vic Valoria, strength and conditioning coach, has been hired. He was a senior assistant S&C at LSU, has a national championship ring. We just talked to Hunt Palmer about him. Excited to bring him on. He's going to emulate one of the very best in the entire game. Chancey Stuckey, wide receiver coach from Clemson. We had a guest on yesterday to talk about Stuckey and what he'll bring, calling him the equivalent of Dabo Swinney. How about Ryan Pugh? He was the offensive coordinator at Troy. He's coming over to Baylor to be the offensive line coach. Another splash hire there from the Sun Belt. We'll have the voice of the Trojans come on tomorrow and break down Ryan Pugh. Sean Bell, promoted to quarterback coach at Baylor. Sean Bell obviously played quarterback at Baylor, was a star at Baylor, somebody that everybody around here can rally around, and he's going to move up to the quarterback coach. We've seen him coach the offensive line. We've seen him coach the tight ends, and now you're going to see Sean Bell coach quarterbacks at Baylor, a position that he played in the green and gold. Juice Johnson, currently still on staff at the running back coach. And man, he's one of those guys, Armstrong, that I was absolutely hell-bent on. I had him on my Christmas wish list. Keep Juice Johnson in the program. And as we sit, Sean Bell, Juice Johnson, and from what we know, Joey McGuire are still a part of the staff. One of the things that I saw coming up on social media a lot yesterday, though, was the talk of Joey McGuire going to Texas. He's going to be one of those guys. We already know that he can recruit the state of Texas very, very well. He's one of the best to do it. He was a high school coach for so long in this state and knows how to bring guys in that Baylor wouldn't typically get because he is the Texas recruit whisperer. Keeping Joey McGuire on staff after Garrett McGuire, his son, has gone on to the Panthers is crucial for Dave Aranda, and I would assume, now the offensive coordinator is hired, it is number one on the list of things to do for Dave Aranda to keep Joey McGuire on staff. So let me tell you this. I don't have an insight on whether or not Joey McGuire has talked to other programs or what he's looking at for the next few years. But how about this? Joey McGuire on Twitter still has everything Baylor. He is Coach McGuire _BU on Twitter. His Twitter header still says Joey McGuire, associate head coach and outside linebackers at Baylor University. Everything on his Twitter is focused around Baylor. And 20 hours ago, he retweeted that Vic Valoria is coming on staff here. So while we don't have anything concrete and inside, I'll tell you this. Everything that we see social media-wise still points to Joey McGuire being the head coach here. So other people, they track planes. Other people, they track the Zillow stuff. You can track whatever you want to track. I track Twitter headers, Twitter bios to see where coaches are landing, what they're doing, what they're up to. And Coach Joey McGuire, from what he's done social media-wise, is still a Baylor Bear. And again, I could not be more excited with the hires that Baylor has made on the offensive side of the ball. Dave Aranda bringing on Jeff Grimes, and almost immediately, a horde of coaches are coming in. Typically what you get is you bring in an offensive coordinator and you wait a few days and maybe you hire a running backs coach or a tight ends coach, and this guy's going to bring so-and-so with him and so-and-so. But Baylor is now tracking from across the country with the guys they've hired, and not just guys from across the country, but guys from across the country that have hardware, national championship rings on their finger. Jeff Grimes was at Auburn with Cam Newton as the offensive line coach when they won the national championship in, 2010, 2011. So he's got national championship experience. We've already seen Vic Valoria, Auburn offensive line. We got Vic Valoria coming from LSU as a national championship. How about Chancey Stuckey, who has a national championship ring? Ryan Pugh has a national championship ring. The list goes on and on. These guys are proven winners that aren't the old washed-up coaches that are coming in to rehabilitate and go back out. They are continually moving up the line of coaches and have a great trajectory. And man, fires me up for Baylor football. You know, you come off of a season where you're 2-7, and JD and I got to do the call-in show. 2-7, and every week people are calling in just the amount of negativity that had really grown around a fan base that's typically so positive and supportive, just over the fact that things seem stagnant. JD mentioned it almost every week. The definition, T-Rex did too, if you're out there, T-Rex, about how the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results. But it seemed like Baylor was doing the same. Charlie Brewer threw the football over 50 times, multiple times last season. And things just didn't really work out. 2-7. And Dave Aranda shows, hey, it is put up or shut up. It's win now. We're going after a staff that fits our program best, and I don't care what we have to do it. And he has done such a spectacular job in hiring Jeff Grimes. Those two worked together at LSU, obviously had a lot of success at LSU. Dave Aranda has proven that he is a defensive whisperer, has done an outstanding job with Ron Roberts on the Baylor defensive side of the football. A lot of those guys are coming back to Jalen Petrie, Terrell Bernard. It's going to be a good year on the defensive side of the football. You look to the offense. How about Treston Ebner coming back in? Jeff Grimes is going to have a quarterback battle. Kyron Drones coming in from high school. He's going to be a true freshman next season. An Elite 11 quarterback. I have him in my rankings as one of the top 10 quarterback recruits in the entire country. Kyron Drones coming back in. And you also have Jacob Zeno. Everybody's favorite Jacob Zeno. On top of that, Blake Shapen. And then you cannot forget about Gary Bohannon. And there have been a lot of conversations. Colt Barber talked about it on the show with us the other day about, hey, what are the odds that Gary Bohannon has a new position? We already know Gary Bohannon is coming back to Baylor. I don't think it should have really been a question. I think Gary really loves the culture, the school, the program he's a part of, and that's something that you can't really replace. You get a recruit that's not married to a coaching staff. He's married to a school and the culture, and that right there is the case for Gary Bohannon. On the other side of that, we're talking Baylor basketball today. On the women's side, again, Kim Mulkey testing positive for COVID-19 yesterday as she returned to the team. Test positive, and the team has restricted basketball activities, so the game against UConn on Thursday is canceled. Nonetheless, we'll still be joined tomorrow by the voice of the Lady Bears, Bruce Geetson, at 12:05 to talk about that cancellation and what that means and what that game would have looked like had it been played on Thursday. Would have been a big one, a top 10 matchup in the Farrell Center. Their game against Kansas State Saturday is postponed, a major part of that one. I am speculating. This is complete speculation, but it sounds like Baylor could have brought the reins in by game time on Saturday had it not been for Kansas State having complications with COVID-19 in their program. So with complications there, they're going to go ahead and postpone that game, but they'll have to play it because it's a conference game. We do have a caller on the line, Stephen from Virginia. You are on with SicEm365 Radio's Up Tempo, Stephen.
Hey, I was going to bring up the point about you talking about them constantly or throwing the football 50 times a game. They had to do that because they couldn't run the football. I mean, the Oklahoma game, they threw 64 passes, and about 30 of them were passes that were pretty much the same thing as what you would get off a running play. And you guys were talking about the lack of rushing last year. I mean, nobody rushed for 200 yards at all. It was awful. And that's the whole reason they're throwing the football. And the fact is that, you know, Coach Fedora, which we've kind of slammed him for this a couple of times, but this whole it's my system kind of thing didn't really work. So, you know, we got to start with running the football and getting back to having a ground game. Take it easy, Drake.
Thanks so much for your call, Stephen. I think a big part of that and running the football starts with not just having Treston Ebner back. Treston Ebner is great on the ground. He's really good on the ground. He's elusive as a kick returner or a punt returner. But I tell you what, we haven't seen his true potential on the ground, I would say, in his last 2 seasons. And injuries have been a part of that. I legitimately think Ryan Pugh as the O-line coach is going to come in and help where Baylor is on the offensive line. And I think Jeff Grimes is going to do the same thing with his experience as an O-line coach. I love that Baylor saw, and fans would agree, that this season, the part where the offense really lacked was the O-line. We couldn't see Charlie Brewer's true ceiling this year because the O-line just could not put it together, and that was on Baylor's wish list for this offseason, is finding a sturdy offensive line where you can start 5 guys for an entire year and they play well. And Jeff Grimes, when you see that hole, you fill it with Jeff Grimes, who is an offensive line whisperer, and Ryan Pugh, who comes in as the offensive coordinator of Troy, now your offensive line coach. We saw his bites earlier as he was mic'd up. I think that if you're Dave Aranda or a Baylor fan, you could not be happier with the fact that Baylor is hiring based on guys that can fill the gaps and the holes that Baylor needs to fill. How about this, though, taking it back to basketball as we were on women's basketball, Kim Mulkey testing positive. The game canceled for Thursday, postponed the Kansas State game. On the men's side of things, we broke it down with Parker Thune, number 2 Baylor in Oklahoma. We will have later on in the show Jerry Hill, the Baylor Bear insider, come on and talk Baylor versus OU. For now, though, we have bites from Coach Scott Drew and Davion Mitchell. Mitchell really has been Baylor. Talk about vitals, Baylor's glue guy that doesn't get enough credit. How about Davion Mitchell this season, who has just been absolutely spectacular? He is, off night Davion. He's averaging almost 7 assists per game. We've seen him score effectively, multiple double-doubles this year. Davion Mitchell has had a great season for the Baylor Bears, and that is what's really, I think he's the offensive facilitator for me, and maybe even your team MVP so far. We've got him and Scott Drew from their press conference yesterday to talk about Oklahoma, an OU team that sits at 6-2 right now. They lost earlier this year to Xavier in a blowout on the road. Their other loss to Texas Tech by 2 points in Norman, 69-67. They beat West Virginia, number 9 West Virginia in Norman, 75-71. And they come to the Farrell Center tonight to take on the number 2 Bears. We'll be right back after this. This is Scott Drew and Davion Mitchell in yesterday's press conference talking Baylor basketball as they meet Oklahoma in Waco tonight.
Hey, Scott. Wanted to ask you a little bit about OU's roster. They've got some veterans there like Manick and Reeves. Yeah, just what are your general impressions of them?
Well, first, that's a great way to start with those two. And then they have some transfers that became immediately eligible, which have helped them as well. And Moja Gibson is one that we're obviously very familiar with. But this is a team that has a lot of returning players, and the ones that are new are transfers, so they have college experience. And anytime you face a team that has a Hall of Fame coach and an experienced roster, you know they're going to be good.
I wanted to ask you a little bit more about Umoja, since he is a local guy from here. What does he bring to them?
I think 11 threes last game. But somebody who can really score. He's a great young man. Had a chance to get to know him, and excited for his success. Obviously followed him at North Texas, and but somebody that is capable of putting 30 up on any given night. And they'll play a lot of guards. We'll play a lot of guards, which leads for a little quicker tempo.
I guess it was finally official on them going to the Indianapolis area. Is it good to have that settled, or is it still so far away that you don't really give much thought to that?
Well, the blessing of being in the Big 12, you really don't look further than the next game ahead of you. So we stay pretty focused on what we have in front of us. And obviously playing Oklahoma is a great challenge. So we'll let the NCAA do their job, and we're going to continue to do our job. And hopefully every coach wants to be in the NCAA tournament. So what you do now determines that.
Do you like, though, that they're at least trying to make it work, no matter what?
No question. You like them being proactive and planning ahead, and not just saying, let's see how things turn out.
And with Lon's offense being so free-flowing, and you've obviously faced him several years, what's the challenge with them the way they've played this year? Obviously, they got West Virginia the other night, but what's the challenge of playing them because they are so smooth in the way they run their offense?
Well, I think a big thing is the versatility they have in their offense. When Manick on the floor, it really gives you, at times he plays the center, it gives you 5 guards out there, and a lot of teams don't play with 5 guards. So it makes you be that much more attentive in transition, because anyone can hit a 3 on you. And at the same time, in the half court, it makes you really spread out, and you have to make sure that you're getting to the shooters.
Davion, what kind of problems does OU present as you guys try to defend them?
Well, after watching their film, they don't turn the ball over. They're a really well-coached team. They play pretty good defense, like a pack line defense. They try to bother you on the ball screens, but I think we'll be ready for them.
And what do you see from Umoja Gibson? He's a local kid who's coming back here to play.
I seen last game. He played really well. He shot the ball real well. We just got to make sure we try not to let him get hot like he did against West Virginia. Yeah, we got to try to slow him down in the beginning. I mean, not to let him get him open looks. See one go in, that'll probably hurt us in the long run. So.
The Big 12 is a very diverse league where you got teams that'll beat you up defensively. Sometimes, you got offensive teams like OU, like yourselves. How beneficial is it for you guys to have the roster to play a lot of different types of games in these types of games?
It's beneficial, really, because we got a lot of players that can have that on night. I mean, we got a lot of weapons. I think if somebody's off, somebody else on the bench or even one of the starters is having a good game. So I think it's beneficial because, like, it's going to be hard for teams to stop just one of us. They can't just stop one of us. They got to stop, like, the whole team.
A team like OU that likes to get up and down, that likes to move a little bit. For you guys, do you kind of go in with a game plan, this is how we want to do it, or you just kind of let the game develop and then play the game that unfolds on the floor?
I think we just got to play our game. I mean, I feel like if we play our game and just don't get out of character, everything will work out itself.
Davion, Oklahoma used the 3-ball to get out to an 18-point halftime lead Saturday. How much do you guys emphasize the perimeter tomorrow night and defending that?
After playing them last year, they really got good shooters. So we definitely got to fan out on the 3-point shooters. I mean, they can shoot the ball real well. They got real good sets to get into their shot. So I think we got to just pay attention to those sets and then be on point throughout the whole game.
And then for you guys, I know the talk has been about defending OU at the 3, but because you guys shoot the 3 so well, what do you anticipate how you think OU will defend you guys?
Probably similar to Iowa State. I mean, they'll run us off the line, make us take tougher twos, but we just got to do a good job of trying to find our shooters and getting open. I think Oklahoma will really hurt us if we don't be, like, locked in or letting people get middle or just not doing things that we usually do. So I think Oklahoma can shoot the ball real well. That can hurt us. So I think that's one thing we got to do going into this game.
All right, bring it back into the Petty Clinic Low T Bear Den. Again, big game tonight, Baylor and Oklahoma. That one on ESPN2 at 8 p.m. from the Farrell Center. Oklahoma comes in at 6-2 overall, receiving votes in both polls after a win against number 9 West Virginia in Norman. Baylor has an 85.6% chance to win compared to Oklahoma's 14.4 on ESPN. Projected starters for the Bears tonight, Jonathan Tchamwa-Tchatchoua, Davion Mitchell, Mark Vidal, Maceo Teague, and Jared Butler. I say Tchamwa-Tchatchoua. Looks like going to go Flo Thamba, the projected starters tonight on the game notes. You have Baylor's last 5 meetings in against Oklahoma. The Bears are 5-0. They've done a pretty good job against Lon Kruger and the Sooners. Kruger, in his 10th year at Oklahoma, one of the longest tenured coaches in the Big 12 alongside Scott Drew, who's in his 18th year and should be a good one tonight. Like they talked about there, Brady Manick is one you got to watch out for, 13.6 points per game, 5.4 rebounds per game, and then Austin Reeves, a dark horse candidate for Big 12 Player of the Year this year from Newark, Arkansas, 15.5 points, 5 rebounds, 5.4 assists per game. A trap game, Armstrong, Oklahoma, they've got it. They scare me, and if they shoot well tonight, they've got a legitimate chance of knocking off the Bears. Baylor, an 11-point favorite. And I tell you what, though, I don't know. Oklahoma is good, and if Baylor plays like they did against Iowa State, Oklahoma's going to make this one a ball game to the final buzzer.
Yeah, there's no doubt. If Baylor comes out like they did against Iowa State, then we lose this game if we come out like we did against Iowa State. So, I mean, you got to come out better, but I think they will. I think that was a blip on the radar, I guess.
Hot take, but Baylor Oklahoma tonight. Yep.
Yeah, I mean, you're going to have down games. You're going to have games where you're down, but I doubt that's consistency.
Garland Bear 84 texts in on the Riverbend Liquor and Wine text line. Seems like John Werner would comb his hair before getting on a Zoom call. I don't know about that.
I agree.
I love John Werner. And
John Werner's great. He does a lot of good work on Twitter.
Zoom has been such a very interesting way that we've had to go with sports media this year. But game tonight in the Farrell Center, 8 o'clock. Baylor favored by 11. I'll be there for that one. Excited to see that ball game. And we'll talk more about that after the break, including our best segments from yesterday. We'll also have Baylor insider Jerry Hill on the show with us. How about this right here? Our up-tempo Baylor's second best football of the last decade. Seth Russell has 73% of the vote on Twitter compared to Cyril Richardson's 27%. Guys, Cyril Richardson was an All-American. It's the name game. I thought Baylor fans would rally around. I'll say this, though. That only has 255 votes. which is 100 less votes than the other two. So people can't decide in that one. So they decided just to not vote. Every vote counts. Cyril Richardson's going to lose to Seth Russell. You guys really are going to look Cyril Richardson, an All-American, in the eyes and say, yeah, we're booting you. Corey Coleman, 99% of the vote compared to Phil Taylor's 1%. That is a 1 seed versus an 8 seed, though. We expected that with Corey Coleman. And then Katie Cannon and Antoine Goodley. About 30 minutes ago, that one was at 50-50. It's now at 52% for Antoine Goodley, 48% for Katie Cannon. The Bear games today are tight as we break down Baylor's second best of the last decade. I'm Drake Toll. That's Armstrong Sims. Coming up after this, we'll have some recaps from yesterday's show. We'll break down a little bit more of the Oklahoma and Baylor basketball game and have Baylor Bear insider Jerry Hill on with us. This is Up Tempo.
News broke yesterday afternoon that after returning to the team, Baylor women's basketball coach Kim Mulkey tested positive for COVID-19 after being exposed to the virus by a family member over the holiday. In the wake of the announcement, the team canceled their top 10 matchup with UConn in Waco, slated for Thursday, and postponed their game with Kansas State, scheduled for Saturday, while also restricting team activities. Mulkey's target return date is January 15th. In national news, Alabama wide receiver Devonta Smith becomes the first player at his position to win the Heisman Trophy since 1991, totaling 1,500 yards receiving and 17 touchdowns this season on 98 catches. Clemson's Trevor Lawrence finished second in voting for the award, with Alabama's Mac Jones landing at third. In college basketball Super Tuesday, number 4 Texas barely escaped Iowa State on the road, winning 78-72. 6th-ranked Kansas stomped TCU in Fort Worth 93-64, and unranked Mississippi State overcame a 12-point halftime deficit to trounce number 13 Missouri 78-63. I'm Armstrong Sims, and that's all the news that is news in college sports. This has been Armstrong's Minute on SicEm365 Radio's Up Tempo.
With so many companies and policies out there, it gets so confusing shopping for insurance, and I never know if I'm getting the policy that's right for me. Luckily, I met the team at the Niche Group Insurance Agency. With the Niche Group, you can go to one company and get access to coverage options from many insurance carriers, and you get to speak to a real person about your specific coverage needs. With the Niche Group, I know I'm getting the right coverage at the right price. If you need insurance, talk to the experts at the Niche Group at 1-800-258-8302.
It takes time to reach goals. It's a truth that applies to more than sports. It goes for your financial goals as well. You work hard for your money, and you deserve an investment strategy that lines up with your game plan. And Tom Albers, your Edward Jones financial advisor, can help. If your financial investments aren't putting forth the effort you desire, stop by today for a financial review. Tom Albers, 4301 Lakeshore Drive, 254-776-7605. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
Stepping into the boots of a U.S. Army officer can add confidence and leadership skills to your son or daughter's career path. See all the things they can achieve in our boots at GoArmy.com. U.S. Army Waco Recruiting Company, 254-598-8131 or 254-776-1543.
Born in Waco, Brotherwell Brewing exists to serve the Central Texas community with locally crafted beer of the highest quality. They want to bring Central Texas closer to the brewing experience so everyone can enjoy well-made beer as much as they do. For 2.5 years, they've been bringing high-quality beer to Central Texas at their location on Bridge Street in East Waco. And this football season, you need to stop by on game day for curbside pickup or stop by their tent next to SicEm365 at Brazos Parking for your pregame refreshment. Brotherwell Brewing believes in community and bringing people together to enjoy products made in their community. So for your game day, whether it's a tailgate or at home, stop by Brotherwell Brewing for high-quality craft beer made right here in Central Texas, 400 East Bridge Street, and check them out online at brotherwell.com.
Boozers is the wedding ring store and more. If you're ready to get engaged or already married and want to upgrade your wife's ring for a special anniversary, Boozers is the place to go. With the largest selection of premier quality diamond engagement rings and wedding rings in Central Texas. They have 7 cases with over 300 styles of rings from top designers like Natalie Kay. Choose from yellow, white, or rose gold, plus beautiful top quality loose diamonds. With an in-house jewelry, they can also custom make anything you want. Bring in a picture or drawing and let Boozers Boozers create your one-of-a-kind pendant or ring. They can even use some of your old gold and diamond jewelry to create something new. At Boozers, you'll find a great selection of quality timepieces, and Boozers is the place for expert watch maintenance and repairs, too. They specialize in expert Rolex watch repair for fine jewelry, watches, custom work, and more. Go to Boozers on Valley Mills and Lake Air Drive in Waco.
Boozers, the wedding ring store and more.
Car has the trucks, man. They have the one for you. Crew cab, short or long bed, silver, black or blue. Texas size selection, great prices too. Richard Carr, he has the truck for you. Carr has the trucks, man. He has the truck you need. If you want the best truck, you want a GMC. Texas size selection, great prices too. Richard Carr, they have the truck for you.
Welcome back to Up Tempo on SicEm365 Radio.
All right, bring it back into the Petty Clinic Low T Bear Den. I'm Drake Toll alongside our producer Armstrong Sims on a muggy Wednesday afternoon, breaking down a whole lot in college athletics. A lot's happening right now. Heisman Trophy given out last night to Devontae Smith, not to be confused with Devontae Adams. You also got Baylor solidifying their offensive coaching staff, as well as, how about a little bit of women's basketball and men's basketball going on today. Super Tuesday last night, some big upsets. Do want to give a shout out, though, Armstrong for the computer charger, because I was at 5%, and Armstrong said, hey, you can borrow mine for a second. Otherwise, I don't know where we'd be right now. Armstrong's Minute, too. I got some feedback right here. Said, I love Armstrong's Minute. This on the Riverbend Liquor and Wine text line. Love hearing his voice.
Wow, that.
I'm not sure how to respond to that, but I could not agree more. I think Armstrong's Minute's a really good addition to the show.
Well, that just warms my heart. That's all I can say.
I love it. It's a good sports update for everybody, making it quick. Hey, those of you listening on YouTube or Periscope, how about Facebook Live? Anybody out there, go ahead and download the SicEm365 app. Hit live, and you can listen to the show, all 3 hours of the show, uninterrupted. Say you want to listen to the show, and I got to close out of my YouTube and respond to this text, or I got to close out of my YouTube and look on Zillow, or I got to close out of my YouTube and see if Joey McGuire still has Baylor in his Twitter bio, which is what I do all the time. Instead, download the app, hit live, and you can listen uninterrupted. So you listen to the show, you click off, you go see if Joey McGuire still has Baylor in his Twitter bio, and you find, oh, he does, and you're still listening to the show at the same time. We got free premium subscriptions, Armstrong. I know we're still putting this together, but as we're doing games, is that free? Free? Did I hear that right?
That is correct. We have free premium subscriptions for a month, I believe, to give out.
1 month free premium subscriptions. We got a lot of those apparently too. So we're going to start running through some games every day and doing things where fans can have the opportunity to get free subscriptions. For those that are already subscribers, there's a big challenge out there to grab those and say, hey, you call in, you're already a subscriber, you win that free subscription. Well, it's a great present for a loved one that loves the Bears or a friend that loves the Bears. To get them involved on SicEm365 and SicEm365.com. Remember to subscribe on YouTube too. How about that, Armstrong? We went from 250 subscribers to now almost, it's over 600 at this point.
Yeah, we went from 300 to about 600 in a matter of days. So
unbelievable. Keep subscribing on YouTube.
Keep doing it. If you're on YouTube right now, hit that subscribe button.
If you're on YouTube and you hit subscribe, it'll let you know when we go live every day, just like the app sends out that update as well. And you can jump on with SicEm365 Radio. Myself, Drake Toll, joined by JD Piquel and the Blonde Boys Power Hour at the top of every day, and then alongside Armstrong Sims for the rest of the day. This segment we got coming up here, though, the best in videos? I don't know. We haven't named it yet. It's the best.
Blonde Boys Power Hour.
Sorry, I had to get that in there.
I love that. We've got videos, the best of yesterday, as well as the best of today that we have seen on social media and across the board in sports. How about this yesterday? Talking about Chancey Stuckey, the new wide receiver coach for the Baylor Bears. I asked the question almost in jest to Will Vandervoort. Said, hey, Will, earlier in the segment, said, Will, are we getting a guy that is basically a Dabo Swinney? And his response, straight face, was yes. Yes. This is a Dabo. He was under Dabo Swinney when Dabo was the wide receiver coach. And now he is Baylor's wide receiver coach. That's Chancey Stuckey, the 37-year-old that can still, apparently, if it wasn't for a ligament injury, could still run a 4.5. So this from Will Vandervoort yesterday on Baylor's new wide receiver coach, Chancey Stuckey. I guess Dabo himself, it's tough to find better praise than comparing him to Dabo Swinney.
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely a Dabo Swinney influence. You'll see that it's hard to explain until you actually see him coach. Yeah. But when you see him coach, and you're going to see this intensity, you're going to see this demand that he's going to have for his players, this this all in, if you will, to work. That's all Dabo Swinney. I'm telling you that right now. That's all Dabo Swinney from the day he got there. Dabo came in 2003, and Chancey moved over to wide receivers in 2004. So he pretty much spent the majority of his career working with Dabo. So, but it's hard to say as a coach who he looks like, other than Tyler, because I've seen him with Tyler, and they're very much alike, their coaching styles. But Dabo is definitely the guy. I mean, if you have to pick one guy, it's definitely going to be Dabo Swinney.
We got Will guess Dabo himself. Come on, guys. If Will Vandervoort could compare the new Baylor wide receiver coach, Chancey Stuckey, to one coach, it would be Dabo Swinney. You don't leave the Dabo bubble at Clemson very often. He retains a lot of those guys, and to get somebody with a ring on his finger from Clemson, a Tiger, to come to Baylor is a huge, huge get for Dave Aranda, Jeff Grimes, and the rest of the Baylor staff on the offensive side especially. So how about this as well? Yesterday we were joined by head baseball coach of the Baylor Bears, Steve Rodriguez, and we asked him, we said, Coach, if you could arm wrestle one Big 12 football coach in the conference at a restaurant for $100, who would it be and what restaurant? And he hesitated for a while, and I didn't know if we'd get an answer out of him. I was really worried that Steve Rodriguez wouldn't give us his coach or his restaurant, and then this happened. All game, and this one right here. There is a fraternity of coaches from football to baseball to softball to women's tennis. I mean, you're a Big 12 coach, so you're familiar with these guys. And it's a fraternity that has an elite group of people. And this right here plays into that, Coach. If you had $100 on the line, you've got to go to a restaurant and arm wrestle one Big 12 football coach. Which coach is it, and which restaurant are you taking him to?
If I have to arm wrestle one Big 12 football coach and take him to a restaurant?
It's got to happen in a restaurant of your choice. You're the one that's picking the venue here, but it has to be an eatery. I told you, these are the toughest questions you will face this week.
Wow. I would probably have to go to Hellberg's.
Oh, I love that pick. Over at almost in China Spring. I like it.
Yeah. Hey, Hellberg, I would have to, just because I think they do a phenomenal job. And if you don't get there by 3, they're out of food, which is awesome. Oh my gosh.
Gary Patterson is in the running. You can say Gary Patterson.
I think that's just the easy one, but I think Coach Gundy would be like my guy that I would just like just the hair. Yeah. I just want to be able to see it flow when I kind of slam his arm down and the hair kind of does that, That's what I'm thinking.
That's it. That's 300 bonus points for Coach Steve Rodriguez. He's taking down Mike Gundy at Hellberg. Coach, thanks so much for joining us on Up Tempo today.
Oh, absolutely, guys. Thanks for having me. I apprete it.
Pleasure to have you. That was Coach Steve Rodriguez of the Baylor baseball program. What an interview. We love having him.
I love that. I love the take on the mullet flowing as he slams
my
down
gosh,
the right
so
Coach
visual.
He's a visual guy.
I'm Drake Toll. That's JD Piquel. That's Armstrong Sims. Up next, we'll give out our superlatives. I love that guy. Come on. How many other places in the nation you get the head baseball coach on the show to talk about arm wrestling Mike Gundy, throwing him down, mullet swinging in the wind at Hellberg Barbecue? We're setting that up, Armstrong.
Yeah, well, you don't get that anywhere else.
You don't get that anywhere else. Steve Rodriguez, spectacular, talking about how he would take down the Mike Gundy, who I, for the first time this year, got to see meet Mike Gundy in person, and the hair is immaculate. So I'm on board with that. And man, we are 100% having Steve Rodriguez on as often as possible. Big fan of Steve Rodriguez and what he's done with the baseball program. Also, just how bright and happy he is, man. I love Baylor coaches have that mantra.
Yeah, great energy. How
about this from today? Hunt Palmer talking about Baylor's new strength and conditioning coach, Vic Valoria. I talked about it with you, and one of the things that really impresses me so much about this Baylor staff is the amount of guys that are coming in that are young, that do not have a track record that's filled with, oh, he's a head coach here, head coach there, this is rehabilitation. No, these are guys that are on the up and up. They have bright trajectories, and I'm even more impressed with the guests that we've had on that have been able to give us insight on how well these guys coach and what they're able to do with the programs they are at, respectively, of they're moving from into Baylor. This from Hunt Palmer on the new strength and conditioning coach, Vic Valoria, who's moving into Baylor now. One of the things that we've talked about in hiring the offensive coordinator, Jeff Grimes, a couple of days ago, the question was for Baylor, do you want an OC who's a great play caller or a great developer? And then my question for the S&C coach, do you want a guy who is your hype man that gets everybody fired up, or do you want a guy that really digs in and knows the numbers and is by the books from a weight, strength, and conditioning standpoint? Are we getting someone who's more hype train, hold up your fours, or a guy that's by the numbers, get you in the weight room and get it done there?
No, there are goals, there are weights in terms of how much you want to lift, how strong you want to be, and what you want to actually weigh as a physical human. That's the most important thing. That's the hardest thing to do, is to monitor that and to make sure everyone is hitting their weights. You got to get offensive linemen to gain some weight. You need your defensive linemen to shed some weight. You're moving a guy from safety to linebacker. You need him to put on some pounds or vice versa. That's the most important. Anybody can yell at a bunch of people. That doesn't take anything. This is a guy that's going to come in and be sure that everyone's hitting their marks, hitting their goals. And that's something they monitor every single day at LSU, and I have no doubt it'll be the same thing in Waco.
No. Boom, baby. Anybody can yell at a bunch of people, but Vic Valoria bringing in strength and conditioning coach to Waco that actually goes by the numbers, does things that are beneficial to players, their health, their strength, and knows how to do it, has experience with one of the best at LSU. Big news today as Texas is finalizing their offensive staff. We have an LSU, actually, Jake Peetz, the quarterback coach of the Panthers, is now their offensive coordinator. That down in Baton Rouge. At Texas, it looked like the Longhorns are taking credit for the Heisman Trophy that Steve Sarkisian won via Devontae Smith. I don't know if you saw that on Twitter, but another great video that we did see in that same loop, Devontae Smith, who was under Steve Sarkisian as offensive coordinator at Alabama. Look at that. Texas tweeted that last night. Congratulations to our head coach, Steve Sarkisian, for winning the Heisman. For what? Like, I get it vaguely why you would tweet that. Like, yeah, maybe you mentioned something about it. But this is just the most Texas A&M thing that I've ever seen in my life, where it's like, hey, we didn't win the Heisman, but somebody that we're related to that is now with us coached a guy that won the Heisman. So basically, it's our Heisman. Texas.
That is very A&M.
Negative 12 points to Texas for posting a picture on Twitter of the Heisman Trophy. What? What did you have to do with that? What did the Texas football program or the Texas Twitter page have to do with the Heisman Trophy? Why? I get it vaguely, but don't be a joke like that. Come on, guys, be better. They're on my list of busts today. How about this? Devontae Smith last night, his Heisman Trophy acceptance speech. We got that queued up as well. Oh my gosh. Deserves all media attention today, and everybody needs to see this.
First off, I would like to thank God. Without him, none of this would be possible. Congratulate all the finalists. Just to be in this situation with you guys, y'all are great athletes, and just to be a part of something like this is truly a blessing. I want to thank my family, my mom, my dad, just everything that y'all taught me to mold me into the young man I am today. I want to thank my mentor, Vincent Sanders. Without you, I wouldn't be where I am today, just from the rides to taking me places that I want to visit, just to doing things and just helping me get to where I am. I want to thank Coach Saban for giving me the opportunity to come play at the University of Alabama. Thank Coach Wiggins, my receiver coach, just for helping me day in and day out, watching film, making me a better player. Thank my teammates. With team success comes individual success, so without y'all, I wouldn't be where I am today, winning this award. And just to all the young kids out there that's not the biggest, not the strongest, just keep pushing, because I'm not the biggest. I've been doubted a lot just because of my size. And really, it just comes down to you put your mind to it, you can do it. No job is too big. If you put your mind to it, you can do it, and just keep believing in God
and you'll get where you want to be. I would like to thank Jeff Allen and the athletic training staff here for giving me all the resources to continue playing this game, to keep me healthy, so I can go out there and do the things that I like to do. Thank our president, Dr. Bell, and our athletic director, Mr. Burns, just for being here and making everything possible with COVID going on and giving us a chance to play this season. Thank you. Roll Tide.
Devontae, thank you very much. They are thrilled in Amite, Louisiana. They've been nervous, no doubt, for the last hour at the watch party, but they got the announcement that they wanted to hear.
That's awesome. That's awesome. You get it on almost every Heisman. The whole, like, I was an underdog. I wasn't, supposed to be here. But to hear that, I've got 4 years eligibility left. J.D. Piquel doesn't. Armstrong, you do too. And it makes me think, hey, I got a little bit in this 6'4" build. We got a wingspan. If I really put my mind to it, I could go to a JUCO college. We're going to Blinn. We're starting on we're just going to start low on the basketball. Freddie Gillespie. Come on, man. That's awesome. To the young kids out there, that's not the biggest, not the strongest. Just keep pushing. Devontae Smith. What a great quote from him during his Heisman Trophy speech last night. And I also love the fact, what I really love about that, he thanks his head coach. Not only does he thank the head coach, he thanks the athletic director, and he thanks the university president. Who does that? Who thinks to go above and beyond like that? And importantly, he thanks God as well. Just a really stand-up speech from Devontae Smith last night. I'm happy. For the first time since 1991, a receiver wins the Heisman. Big news in college sports. Congratulations, Devontae. And then last thing on the list here of today in videos, you have Trevor Lawrence. We're not going to run the whole video because this was expected. Trevor Lawrence has declared for the NFL draft. He will not come back to play in college. He will go down as one of the best quarterbacks to play in the college game and never win a Heisman, one of the best players in general. I think you got to give your nod to Arkansas's Darren McFadden, who was a runner-up in 2 different Heismans. But, yeah, Trevor Lawrence came out in a really dramatic video today and said what everyone knew he was going to say, that he is not coming back to Clemson. He's declaring for the NFL draft. Will most likely be a Jaguar next season with, how about it, Urban Meyer, who is not going to Texas. So, Urban Meyer, congratulations. Trevor Lawrence, congratulations. He released it today. It's official. Trevor Lawrence is not coming back to Clemson. He's going down to Jacksonville, first pick in the draft. Also, I'm sorry, we just got to keep going with Texas. 2.89, highest semester GPA in team history for the Texas Longhorns. 2.89.
You've seen that, right?
Yeah.
You seen that before?
I've seen it before, and it makes me want to go back to it because the Heisman thing.
Oh, yeah. It's
like, really? Really? It's the same as the chart you have in the bathroom. Let's get that after the next break. I'm Drake Toll. That's Armstrong Sims. Yeah, like right there.
Prepared off the field.
2.89.
2.89.
If I get a 2.89, they revoke all of my scholarships. I know I'm not a football team, but come on, man. I'm Drake Toll. That's Armstrong Sims. This is Up Tempo. Up next, Jerry Hill, Baylor Bear Insider, on to talk Baylor, Oklahoma tonight.
MP Electric has developed a quality-oriented electrical contracting service in more than 20 years in the industry. Led by President Mark Perry, our electricians go through a 5-year apprenticeship program, are licensed by the state of Texas, and getting continuous education annually upon renewal. In great part, the success of MP Electric lies with its management and professional expertise of its employees. All of our employees share a dedication to quality and commitment to serving the needs of our customers. For new construction and remodels, parking lot, lighting and surge protection, landscape lights, security lights, troubleshooting and repairs. For industrial manufacturing, food and beverage, paper and publishing, heavy industry, cement and rock crushing plants, water distribution plants, and utilities. For 20 years, MP Electric has serviced industrial, commercial, and residential products. We do service right. MP Electric Inc. at 1890 Galaxy Road, Waco. MPElectricUSA.com.
When we moved to Texas, we were like fish out of water. We didn't know anyone in our neighborhood until our Texas Farm Bureau insurance agent came to the house. She was so helpful and reassuring, a friendly face with that Texan hospitality I'd heard about. When we purchased a Texas Farm Bureau insurance policy, we knew we were making the right choice. We knew our family would be protected.
Stop by and see our agents at one of our 3 McLennan County locations.
Coverage and discounts are subject to qualifications and policy terms and may vary by situation.
Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics, the team physician of Baylor Athletics. Our doctors specialize in the diagnosis and treatment of any and all sports-related injuries. Celebrating over a decade of service in Central Texas, our doctors are equipped to handle a wide range of issues, whether it's your foot or ankle, orthopedic spine care, your hand or wrist, knee and shoulder pain, or if you're in need of our arthritis or total joint clinic. Come see us at the new Baylor Scott and White Ted and Sue Getterman Sports and Orthopedic Center. Trust the doctors at Baylor Trust, Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics. Our goal is to get you back in the game.
In the market for a quality metal building? Since 1943, Pioneer Steel and Pipe has helped Central Texas residential and commercial customers with metal building design, panel options, building components, and trim options. Pioneer Steel and Pipe's residential line is energy efficient, offers low maintenance, reduces insurance payments, is impact resistant, and carries up to a 45-year limited warranty. In addition, they can also help you find a metal building contractor for your project. Pioneer Steel and Pipe with locations in Waco and Bryan and at pioneersboys.com.
Do you or your kids get nervous about going to the dentist? Stonewood Dental, Dr. Steve Childress, he can help.
I've spent a career taking care of patients who as children had bad experiences, and now they're adults that hate going to the dentist. If I get a kid at 3 years old and they come every 6 months and it's a happy experience, it's normal for them. Now they have an accident at 6 or 7 or 8 at school. Now they have a broken tooth or a trauma, and they have to come here. They're used to lights, they're used to water in their mouth, they're used to experience, they already trust us. It's amazing what we can do with that kid without it being a negative thing. But if I see a 6 or 7 or 8 year old that's never been to the dentist, and now they have a trauma or an unfortunate unexpected toothache, it's harder to do that for that kid and it not be somewhat of a negative experience. So bottom line is I try to teach kids and adults and teenagers and everybody the way I'd want my family treated, which is where it's a necessary part of life. You just take care of it. It doesn't have to be that big a deal.
Learn more, stonewood-dental.com.
Welcome back to Up Tempo on SicEm365 Radio.
And we bring it back into the Petty Clinic Low T Bear Den. I'm Drake Toll. Armstrong Sims is running the computer. We've got Baylor and Oklahoma tonight. It's game day in men's basketball. The number 2 Bears against the unranked Sooners. And now we're joined by Baylor Bear insider Jerry Hill via Zoom. Jerry, we heard from you earlier with the press conference with Coach Drew yesterday. Had some bites from that. Really good insight that he offered. And I tell you what, if you look at it on ESPN, it says that Baylor has an 85.6% chance to win. But this Oklahoma team, if they get hot and get hot from deep, it's anybody's ball game.
Yeah, Drake, I appreciate you having me. And I think Oklahoma is definitely maybe more of a threat than we thought coming in. I think Umoja Gibson obviously has added a little bit of fuel to this too. But yeah, it was a big win that they had against West Virginia, coming off that win. And I think as a team, they hit 10 or 11 3-pointers. Umoja hit 8. So this is a very dangerous team. And I think what makes them the most dangerous is, like Coach Drew talked about, is they can shoot the 3 from any position on the floor. I mean, when you've got a 6'9" forward that can knock it down like, a guard, it makes it really hard to defend.
With the Oklahoma team coming in tonight, when you look at the Baylor squad and how they played against Iowa State, if Baylor, and this is before we really break down that game, if Baylor plays tonight like they did against Iowa State, is it an Oklahoma victory in Waco?
I think one of the things that they showed me, Drake, in that game, because that was one of the things I worried about, was what will this team do when the shots maybe aren't falling like they usually do? And they didn't in this game. So I think that was big to show that they can win maybe without winning from the 3-point arc, which is what they've done. So the fact that they were 0 for 6 in that first half, 4 for 17 or whatever for the game, I think it showed that this team is capable of grinding out games, whereas maybe in the past they couldn't do that. But I think it shows the strength is still those 3-point shooters. Man, they've got so many of them, and that's what makes Oklahoma tough. That's what makes Baylor tough, is you've got so many of them. You can't zero in or focus on one guy. You got to fan out and guard them all. Well, can you do that? So I don't know that it would necessarily be an Oklahoma victory, particularly since you're playing here. But certainly it gives Oklahoma a great chance if you don't play better than you did at Iowa State.
When you look at the Iowa State game, it's so odd to think that Baylor didn't play that well, and statistically they didn't meet their standard, but they still won by double digits in Ames, which was unthinkable, 7 or 8 years ago. When you look at that game up and down, does it give you confidence that Baylor can win when they don't play well, or does it make you think maybe this team isn't as invincible as we thought?
No, I think it certainly showed some flaws in that one game. I don't know if that's an outlier or if it's, a pattern. Let's see what happens from here. But 17 turnovers, that's not something they've done. I give some credit to Iowa State, and I think this is an Iowa State team, and they gave Texas a good game last night. So I think this is an Iowa State team with a lot of new pieces that's going to get better as the season goes along. So I think maybe, a month or so down the road, this is going to look like a pretty good win, particularly on the road. So no, I don't think it says, ooh, I'm not scared by that performance. Yeah, like you said, it was a double-digit win. I think that was about what they were favored by. So I felt like they did what they needed to do. And if anything, it gave me more confidence that this team can win in different ways. And Drake, I tell you what makes this team really special, and it was last year too, is the defense. I mean, yeah, they're averaging over 90 points per game, but I still think this is like, it's got to be one of the best defensive teams in the nation. And, it starts obviously with guys like Davion Mitchell and Mark Vidal. But I think the fact that all those guys have bought in, this is a really tough team to beat because they're so good on both ends.
When you look at the other side at Oklahoma and what they've done, and I know you broke it down a bit there, how they can shoot from the outside. If they get hot from the outside, they have a legitimate chance to sneak up on the Bears tonight. But you talked about Emoji Gibson too. 29 points against West Virginia, played in 30 minutes, had 10 field goals. 8 of those were three-pointers, went 8 for 11 behind the arc. So when you got a guy like that, and you're also battling Reeves, Austin Reeves, one of the very best players in the country, Manick can also be a threat inside and outside. Now you're looking at 3 guys that you got to guard at all times. Is it defense that's going to have to be the difference tonight?
Yeah, and I think that's the case most times with Baylor. Is it definitely starts with defense, and that's where they want to win. They want to win on defense. They want to, create turnovers. They want to force steals, and that's what this team lives on. And even some of the offense, obviously, is created from those defensive steals and blocks and things like that. So, yeah, I think it starts with the defense. And you're right. I mean, Oklahoma has a lot of weapons, but honestly, Drake, I think you're going to see that with just about everybody in the Big 12. There's going to be at least 2 or 3 guys. You can't really focus on one guy on every team. So I think this just is kind of what the Big 12 is about. And I was looking at Oklahoma's schedule and that they're in right now, because they're playing, this is the 3rd of 4 straight top 15 opponents. But you know what? Everybody goes through that, because then I looked and I was like, so when is ours? When is Baylor's? And I think it starts like next week, because they'll play like, West Virginia, Tech, and Kansas back to back to back. You're all going to go through stretches like that. And to their credit, they're 1-1 right now, but they go to Kansas on Saturday. So this is just a brutal schedule for Oklahoma. But like you said, I mean, if they could come in here and pick up a win, that would be huge for them. Because this, like, again, they've got to survive this stretch, but everybody's going to go through these stretches.
Yeah, and obviously Oklahoma is not a bottom dweller in the Big 12. Lon Kruger has done a really good job with that program. It's been volatile in years past, but he's brought in some grad transfers and a couple of JUCO guys that have bolstered that team and made them look really good. From a defensive standpoint, though, are they on par right now with other teams in the Big 12? And what kind of threat are they going to give a Baylor team that averages 92 points per game?
Yeah, and Drake, I think that is the biggest difference when you look at these teams, because Baylor and Oklahoma, I think, are right up there in the tops. They are in the tops in scoring, 1 and 2 in scoring. They're also arguably the best 3-point shooting teams. But you look at Baylor's 3-point defense versus Oklahoma's, and Oklahoma, I believe, might be last in the league in 3-point percentage defense. So, again, facing a team that's that good at shooting 3-pointers and you're not very good on, guarding that arc, that will obviously be a focus for them. But I think that's the biggest difference is the difference on the defensive side.
And I know we've talked about now Oklahoma and Baylor, both from a defensive standpoint. We've touched on Oklahoma offensively, but you can't give enough credit to the Bears, who are putting up 92 points per game this season. And you've got so many weapons now, especially with Jonathan Tchamwa-Tchatchoua, Everyday John, who's really exploded into a role that you might not have expected coming into this season because you hadn't seen a lot of him. Baylor's got weapons out there, and when they put it all together, they're no stranger to 100 points this season. What do you expect to see from them offensively against a Sooner team, like you said, that has holes defensively?
Well, I think certainly you attack. Most teams go inside out. I would say Baylor typically goes outside in. But like you said, I think what has been really key has been the offensive development of both Everyday John and Flo. I mean, Flo, you look at that last game, he's not as much of an offensive threat as Everyday John, but he had 4 points, I think, in the first 2 minutes. He finishes with his Big 12 career best 10 points. If you can get that kind of production from those two guys, it's huge because it opens up everything else. And that opens it up for those 3-point shooters that are already really, really good. So, certainly I think you try to attack from the outside just because that's their game. That's our game. But I think what like Maceo has shown is that, hey, if they're going to take away the outside, I'm going to drive, and he's been a good finisher on those. And we know Jared's really good at that too. So that's the thing. You've got guys that, they're great 3-point shooters, but they can also drive. They can finish. Jared had a dunk the other day. Yeah. So, it's fun to see. This is a really fun team to watch.
And it kind of goes into that, and it is a loaded question, but you've been around the Baylor program for decades now, covering the Bears and Baylor basketball, since really when Scott Drew started to bring this team to fruition. And again, this is so loaded, Jerry, but is this Baylor team, the best team you've seen them field? Now, I'm sure you've been asked that plenty of times in the last decade even, because they seem to get better and better, but is this team just different?
Yeah, I think that's a good word. They are different. I mean, if you look back on those, Elite 8 teams in 10 and 12, those were really good teams. And they had, both of those teams had good inside, good outside, everything. They had all the parts. I think this team is better defensively. Quincy Acey was a great defender, maybe the best, defender Baylor's had. Epe Udoh was a great defender. But I think when you have a whole team bought in like this, that makes this team different, makes this team maybe a step above everybody else. And I think, too, Drake, the fact that you've got so many weapons. Some of those teams, it might be one or two guys, a Lace Arias Dunn, Pierre Jackson, some of those guys. This team, I mean, who's it going to be? Yeah. Jared is kind of an obvious, but there are guys stepping up every day. I mean, Adam Flagler didn't score this last game, but he's very capable of putting up 20. Yeah. So that's what makes this team so good, is they're deeper maybe than any of those other teams.
Hey, does it sound good to you that the Baylor Bears signed the number 5 class in the country and bring in 3 other guys that are 4 and 5 stars? Is that all right?
It's good with me, man. It means the future is bright. You knew, and I'll give all the credit to Scott and his staff. I mean, think about the pandemic and everything that's going on, and you're having to do it like this. You're having to Zoom and do stuff on the phone and stuff, and they were really able to, come up with a great class, and you're excited about those guys coming in. So I think it just kind of keeps it going, Drake.
Yeah, and then just one question to change trajectory to the women's game tomorrow. You had Baylor and UConn slated for the biggest matchup that we've seen of the new year in women's college basketball at the Farrell Center. Obviously canceled with Kim Mulkey testing positive for COVID-19. And it's disappointing. It's similar to what we saw with the Baylor-Gonzaga men's game earlier this year when that was canceled. A lot of hype, new school word, around that ball game, and the bottom falls out on it.
Yeah, that was tough, Drake, because and Coach Brock mentioned it after the TCU game the other day. This was going to be, and I don't know that Kim necessarily would see it that way, but this would have been a good measuring stick for Baylor, for the Lady Bears, to see how they stack up, because they really haven't had one of those games per se. I mean, they had They had a tough road trip there where they played really 3 tough teams back to back to back, but nobody on this level. So I think it would have been good really for both programs and good for women's basketball to have that kind of matchup. And you know, I don't think that one will happen this year, but boy, I'd like to see that one every year because it's such a good series. And I know, you know, probably neither side sees it as a rivalry because you don't play it enough. Yeah. But Michelle Vopel from ESPN wrote that this might be the best rivalry in women's basketball because Baylor, I think it's 4-4 in the all-time series. And I've seen most of those games, if not all of them. And the fact that Baylor's been able to go toe-to-toe with them tells you, hey, they're pretty good. You know, I mean, and particularly if you look at this last decade, they may be the only team that's beaten them 4 times in this last decade.
Definitely an amazing run under Kim Mulkey and Scott Drew, who both came in at relatively similar times and have just transformed both basketball programs. So, Jerry, we're going to end this thing off with our Bear games. We're currently doing I sent it to you. Why am I even explaining it to you? You helped put this together, and I say that very loosely because of the flack that I've gotten for leaving a couple names off. So I won't pass that over to you. But I tell you what, we've got today's matchup. Cyril Richardson, an All-American offensive lineman, is taking on Seth Russell. And it's the name game, Jerry. It happens every time. Obviously, Seth Russell's on top right now. But who are you giving the nod to between Cyril and Seth Russell?
Yeah, I thought that was a tough matchup for Seth. But like you said, he's kind of dominant. And that's a quarterback thing, too. Yeah. But Cyril, to me, I mean, he's, you know, I would put him and Spencer Drango up there and maybe Jason Smith as, you know, some of the best Baylor offensive linemen in history. Yeah. So if it's a head-to-head thing, and that's hard, you know, offensive lineman versus quarterback, I would probably go Cyril. And actually on the poll, I think I did vote for Cyril. And then I noticed that Seth was kind of beating him by a wide margin. But don't tell Seth that I picked Cyril, okay?
Oh, my goodness. I tell you what, it's now 30-0 on the caller and guest voting poll right here because I've talked everybody on the show into voting for Cyril Richardson. Corey Coleman or Phil Taylor?
Got to go with Corey. I mean, Phil, kind of like Andrew Billings, was a dominant force inside. Phil was not as consistent, though. You know, he was a Penn State transfer, only got him for a couple of years, you know, and he was a first-round draft pick. Corey was, though, too. Corey was the Biletnikoff Award winner. That puts him kind of in that other category. I think he's, you know, got to be certainly one of the top guys of this decade, if not all time.
Hey, well, awards don't matter if you're Cyril Richardson. Apparently, those just don't count. None of that matters. You got Katie Cannon or Antoine Goodley?
Yeah, I saw that one, Drake, and that's tough. That's probably the toughest one for me, and that's probably why it's a play-in deal. Katie was the better receiver. Katie gave you more of that speed, explosiveness. I voted for Antoine because of his versatility. He's a guy that you could line up in running back, and he would do just fine. You know, also did some returns and stuff. So I voted for Antoine, but I mean that's tough to leave out Katie because he definitely, like I said, if you just stacked him up receiver versus receiver, I'd probably go with Katie, but Antoine because of his versatility.
And then your score prediction for tonight's game. I know these are so just weird. It's predicting a basketball game, and not everybody loves to do it. But you could even – what's your margin? You have Baylor winning tonight?
I do have Baylor winning. Probably shouldn't pick a score just because of where I work. But, Baylor wins. And I'm not going to say comfortably, but I'm anticipating that they'll keep the double-digit streak alive.
And who is Baylor's leading scorer?
Oh, man. I will go with Jared. Jared, and this may not fit in that category, but Jared is such a big game type guy. He always comes up in the big games. And it's hard not to go with Jared. I mean, and again, it could be anybody, but I'm going to go Jared in this one.
Jared Butler. That's Jerry Hill, Baylor Bear Insider. Thanks so much for joining us today, Jerry. Always love talking with you.
Appreciate it, Drake. You guys have a great day.
You too. Great to have him on. Again, Jerry Hill, Baylor Bear Insider, talking Baylor, Oklahoma. That game tonight at 8 p.m. Central Time can be seen on ESPN2. It's in the Farrell Center. Come on out and support the Bears. I'm Drake Toll. Armstrong Sims is running the show right now. We're going to get a little bit of Armstrong's Minute and hit a break and be right back on Up Tempo.
News broke yesterday afternoon that after returning to the team, Baylor women's basketball coach Kim Mulkey tested positive for COVID-19 after being exposed to the virus by a family member over the holiday. In the wake of the announcement, the team canceled their top 10 matchup with UConn in Waco, slated for Thursday, and postponed their game with Kansas State, scheduled for Saturday, while also restricting team activities. Mulkey's target return date is January 15th. In national news, Alabama wide receiver Devonta Smith becomes the first player at his position to win the Heisman Trophy since 1991, totaling 1,500 yards receiving and 17 touchdowns this season on 98 catches. Clemson's Trevor Lawrence finished second in voting for the award, with Alabama's Mac Jones landing at third. In college basketball Super Tuesday, number 4 Texas barely escaped Iowa State on the road, winning 78-72. 6th-ranked Kansas stomped TCU in Fort Worth 93-64, and unranked Mississippi State overcame a 12-point halftime deficit to trounce number 13 Missouri 78-63. I'm Armstrong Sims, and that's all the news that is news in college sports. This has been Armstrong's Minute on SicEm365 Radio's Up Tempo.
MP Electric has developed a quality-oriented electrical contracting service in more than 20 years in the industry. Led by President Mark Perry, our electricians go through a 5-year apprenticeship program, are licensed by the state of Texas, and getting continuous education annually upon renewal. In great part, the success of MP Electric lies with its management and professional expertise of its employees. All of our employees share a dedication to quality and commitment to serving the needs of our customers. For new construction and remodels, parking lot, lighting and surge protection, landscape lights, security lights, troubleshooting and repairs. For industrial manufacturing, food and beverage, paper and publishing, heavy industry, cement and rock crushing plants, water distribution plants, and utilities. For 20 years, MP Electric has serviced industrial, commercial, and residential products. We do service right. MP Electric Inc. at 1890 Galaxy Road, Waco. MPElectricUSA.com.
When we moved to Texas, we were like fish out of water. We didn't know anyone in our neighborhood until our Texas Farm Bureau insurance agent came to the house. She was so helpful and reassuring, a friendly face with that Texan hospitality I'd heard about. When we purchased a Texas Farm Bureau insurance policy, we knew we were making the right choice. We knew our family would be protected.
Stop by and see our agents at one of our 3 McLennan County locations.
Coverage and discounts are subject to qualifications and policy terms and may vary by situation.
Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics, the team physician of Baylor Athletics. Our doctors specialize in the diagnosis and treatment of any and all sports-related injuries. Celebrating over a decade of service in Central Texas, our doctors are equipped to handle a wide range of issues, whether it's your foot or ankle, orthopedic spine care, your hand or wrist, knee and shoulder pain, or if you're in need of our arthritis or total joint clinic. Come see us at the new Baylor Scott and White Ted and Sue Getterman Sports and Orthopedic Center. Trusted doctors at Baylor Trust, Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics. Our goal is to get you back in the game.
In the market for a quality metal building? Since 1943, Pioneer Steel and Pipe has helped Central Texas residential and commercial customers with metal building design, panel options, building components, and trim options. Pioneer Steel and Pipe's residential line is energy efficient, offers low maintenance, reduces insurance payments, is impact resistant, and carries up to a 45-year limited warranty. In addition, they can also help you find a metal building contractor for your project. Pioneer Steel and Pipe with locations in Waco and Bryan and at pioneersboys.com.
Do you or your kids get nervous about going to the dentist? Stonewood Dental, Dr. Steve Childress, he can help.
I've spent a career taking care of patients who as children had bad experiences, and now they're adults that hate going to the dentist. If I get a kid at 3 years old and they come every 6 months and it's a happy experience, it's normal for them. Now they have an accident at 6 or 7 or 8 at school. Now they have a broken tooth or a trauma, and they have to come here. They're used to lights, they're used to water in their mouth, they're used to experience, they already trust us. It's amazing what we can do with that kid without it being a negative thing. But if I see a 6 or 7 or 8 year old that's never been to the dentist, and now they have a trauma or an unfortunate unexpected toothache, it's harder to do that for that kid and it not be somewhat of a negative experience. So bottom line is I try to teach kids and adults and teenagers and everybody the way I'd want my family treated, which is where it's a necessary part of life. You just take care of it. It doesn't have to be that big a deal.
Learn more, stonewood-dental.com.
Welcome back to Up Tempo on SicEm365 Radio.
How about it? Back in the Petty Clinic Low T studio. Drake Toll alongside Armstrong Sims as we round out the show here. Last 20 minutes of Up Tempo. Man, I love it. A lot to talk about today with Baylor basketball playing tonight in the Farrell Center. Home game. My first chance to go out and watch them, Armstrong. You'll be watching that game, yeah?
I will be there as well.
I'm excited for that. We got a little bit of celebrity birthdays coming up for us alongside this day in sports history. They're pretty good today. I'll tell you, the one thing that I'm most disappointed about today, and I've said it all show, and I'll say it again, and I'll keep saying it, Cyril Richardson, an All-American, is losing right now in our bracket. I'll give you a bracket update here on Baylor's second best, the 32 players that we have listed behind RG3 as Baylor's second best player. Right now, it is a tight matchup between Antoine Goodley and Katie Cannon. Katie Cannon, 47%. Antoine Goodley, 53%. That's got a lot of votes in there, too. Antoine Goodley is a play-in. Katie Cannon was the favorite in that one, and Goodley's going to take that, I think, in the end. Although it's tight, that one could sway either way. Baylor's second best football player of the last decade. How about Corey Coleman and Phil Taylor squaring off today? Corey Coleman has 99% of the vote. That is a 1 seed versus an 8 seed. There it is right there. Corey Coleman, 99%, and Phil Taylor, 1% with 409 votes counted. And then
I voted for Phil Taylor, though.
You were the one guy that voted for Phil Taylor?
You can see my check mark. No, there's more. I think he's got 4. He's got about 4 votes.
3 or 4. 3 or 4. Yes, he does. And then you've got Cyril Richardson and Seth Russell right down underneath that. Cyril Richardson, an All-American. Seth Russell, the best that never was. Could have been great. Could have been a Heisman winner. Was on track to win the Heisman. And, injuries, sometimes injury bugs bites you. And, who wouldn't have loved to have seen what Seth Russell could have done for Baylor had he not gone through what he went through. And we bring him back into the Petty Clinic Low T studio. We've got Grant McNew calling in on the Impact Healthline caller line at 254-339-1122. Let's play a game, Armstrong, the green and blank game, because it is Wednesday, and that's what we play on our Wednesdays. All right, and you everybody has asked how this goes.
Yeah,
please
explain it.
Grant, do we have you?
You got me, Drake.
All right, we got Grant McNew on the line. So this is the green and blank game. So if I was to say the word green and, how would you finish that line, Armstrong?
Me?
Yeah.
A gold.
Grant, how would you finish green and?
Well, I was going to say gold, but he kind of stole my answer.
Right, but
I think it's the obvious answer.
That's right, and that's the point of the game.
I get it.
So to win the game, you have to guess something that someone in the studio guesses. So between Armstrong and I, we both have our answers written down, or they'll come at the pop of the top of our head. And Grant, you will give an answer to start, and then Armstrong and I will both follow suit. So
let's do it.
I've got right here written down the very first one: steak and blank. Grant, steak and
I can
blank.
just answer right now?
Yep.
Yeah, go for it.
It's going to be shrimp.
Okay, we got steak and shrimp. Armstrong?
I said potatoes.
I said steak and potatoes.
Yeah.
Grant McNew is
I'm clapping over here.
0 for 1. So here's what we've got: cookies and blank.
Cream.
We've got cookies and cream. Armstrong.
Milk. Cookies and milk.
I also have written down cookies and milk. This is Grant. You're killing me, man. We're so okay.
This is real rough.
I think cheating.
This is, I'm not.
There's no cheating.
They are written down. They're written down.
I misspelled potatoes because I scribbled it down.
All right, Grant. There it is. We got potatoes and milk. I misspelled potatoes. Grant, the last one here, what is on the line right now is a free SicEm365 t-shirt. If you land this one, we will give you a free SicEm365 t-shirt. The executive decision, you were supposed to get all 3 right, but this has just not gone very well for you. So the last one, Grant, cops and blank. Cops and blank.
Robbers.
Armstrong?
I also have robbers.
Hey, it's 3 ways all the way around. Cops and robbers. Grant McNew, congratulations. You won today's green and blank game with cops and robbers. Go ahead and give us your address.
Not on the air. Don't do that.
That was the joke, Armstrong.
Not going to happen. Look, Rick, I think you know my address.
That was the joke. Grant, thanks for playing Cops Green and Blank game today, and congratulations on winning with Cops and Robbers. We will get you some green and gold merchandise. Before you go, though, we've got our Bear games as well. The fun doesn't end. Got bracket time. All-American offensive lineman Cyril Richardson versus Seth Russell. Who you taking in the Baylor second-best bracket?
I'm going to take option number 1, Drake.
Cyril Richardson, the All-American, is up 40-0 on the caller votes. Corey Coleman or Phil Taylor?
I'm going to take Phil Taylor on that one.
Wow, what a shock. That's the first call-in vote for Phil Taylor.
Mm-hmm.
Phil Taylor has like 4 votes on Twitter right now.
Today.
Yeah, we're going upset on that one. And KD Cannon or Antoine Goodley?
Give me Goodley.
Antoine Goodley is, that's a tight race, too. Antoine Goodley has swept the caller votes, though, so Goodley's probably going to end up winning that one. And then who wins tonight's Baylor basketball game? It's the number 2 Bears against unranked Oklahoma in the Farrell Center.
You know what? I'm going to take Oklahoma on this one. I like the red and white.
We got an upset happening, brewing in Waco. What is your predicted score?
Okay. The score, that's a tough one, Drake. Whatever your score is, just flip-flop it.
Double it.
Just flip-flop it. Nice.
All right, I haven't given mine yet. I give mine after the next break, and Armstrong will give his, and we will we'll tally those up. We got our first vote for Oklahoma today, though. Grant, thanks so much for your call. Love having you on, man.
Hey, nice to talk to you guys.
Great. 254-339-1122. We're rolling toward our final segment of the day. How about that? The green and blank game, Armstrong. I like that.
I was a fan. I was a big fan.
You like the green and blank game?
Yeah, it's fun.
We have fun on this show.
Where did cookies and cream? That was a shocker.
I think, cookies and cream was probably the most popular answer. I think if we put it out on social media, cookies and cream probably wins that
I got to put it out.
Because I think milk and cookies is probably where people would go before they go, cookies and milk. I think milk just comes first, period. Across college sports, talked about it earlier. You've got Baylor women's basketball, Kim Mulkey testing positive for COVID-19. Still looking for new information on that. Didn't have DD Richards on today. Man, we were supposed to have DD Richards. That would have been awesome. That would have been flipping awesome.
That would have been awesome. I was scrolling through our Twitter and I saw our post from yesterday announcing that, and I was like, bummer.
Yeah, really awesome graphic too, and just couldn't land it. But hey, that's all right. In the end, you know what? We'll have her on later on here in a couple weeks once they go back to normal activities with the Baylor women's basketball program. Again, ravaged by COVID, as all programs have been. I say ravaged. We don't have any confirmed positives yet from the team, just Kim Mulkey. But I should say COVID taking its toll on that program. Also today, Jeff Grimes, the OC. We talked about Vic Valoria, strength and conditioning coach, Chancey Stuckey, wide receiver coach, Ryan Pugh, the O-line coach, Sean Bell, at quarterback coach, Juice Johnson, the running back coach, as Baylor is solidifying their offensive staff, making some pretty flippin' awesome hires. And every guest we've had on to talk about them have had such high praise. And it's not just blowing hot air either, Armstrong. Like, these guys are actually giving some good content on the new coaches at Baylor that, people have questions about because they don't necessarily know who they are. And a big shout out to Jeremiah Dickey. We missed this a couple days ago. I don't know why it's taken us so long to mention it. That's completely on me. I dropped the ball on that one. But the Twitter group message, Armstrong has the video there that we've got of Jeremiah Dickey. There's no audio on it, but we'll run it over. Jeremiah Dickey hired at Boise State as the new athletic director, and he's got a big job from day one to step into a program that is trying to hire a new football coach. But man, you got to be excited for a guy that has been with Mack Rhoades. He's made a lot of big hires, including Matt Rule coming in at Baylor. You also look at they released the press release from Boise earlier this week, and they seem very excited to have Jeremiah Dickey. What a huge role for him to step into, moving on from Baylor, where he started in 2017, and Jeremiah Dickey now an athletic director in college athletics. Awesome for him and his family.
Big time.
Before that, he was at Houston with Rhoades as well. University of Akron, University of Texas, El Paso, and Jeremiah Dickey now moving it up north to Idaho, where day one he will have to replace Brian Harsin, the head football coach that went on down to Auburn to coach War Eagle, the Tigers. And again, big congratulations to Jeremiah Dickey. A whole lot going on this week in sports. Heisman last night, Devontae Adams. Yeah,
Craig, what are your thoughts on the blue field?
So I come from, and if you can find this on the internet as well, University of Central Arkansas football field.
Okay, is it the red?
No.
Who has the red
That's
field?
Ohio, Miami of Ohio.
Really?
Miami, Ohio.
Anyways.
I personally not a big fan of the blue football field. I think here's the deal. If I was a Boise State fan, I would hate it. I would hate looking at that constantly, but I don't have to. That right there, though, if you've got the picture that you can pull up of the University of Central Arkansas, yes,
that's ugly.
Both of my parents went there.
That's real ugly.
And I am from Conway, Arkansas originally, and so big fan of that right there. The purple and gray, the stripes, as they call it. They call it the stripes. Love it.
You do like it?
I love it.
Genuinely.
Absolutely. I think that's one of my favorite football fields in the world. We got Chris.
It's ugly. That's
coming
really
on.
ugly.
Chris. Oh, man. No, this is our dad, Jack Wheeler, talking about the red field on 254-339-1122. Jack Wheeler, welcome in.
Drake, good to talk to you. And from what I can tell, it's actually not Miami, Ohio at the red field. I think it's Eastern Washington, if I'm not mistaken.
Wow. Did I drop the ball on that one?
I think he is correct on that one.
It's Eastern Washington? Oh, wait. No. Okay. Yeah, it's not Miami of Ohio. I thought Eastern Washington was the gray field.
Who has the gray field?
I don't think it is the gray field. I think it's the red field, but...
No, you're absolutely right,
We
Jack.
need to be paying Jack Wheeler now.
He is our father.
Yeah, I dropped the ball on that one, Jack. I stand corrected. You know what, Jack? 53 points.
Jack, thanks for the correction.
I appreciate that. Absolutely.
Yeah. Jack, always good to hear from you. You want to go ahead and vote in these Bear games? Because I want you to.
Let's do it.
Cyril Richardson or Seth Russell?
My heart's telling me Seth Russell, but I'll go with Cyril Richardson.
Yeah, you will. He is undefeated right. This might end up being close considering the amount of callers and guests that have voted. Cyril Richardson is undefeated between guests and callers.
By the way, I hate to interrupt. Eastern, what is this? Eastern? Michigan.
Has a gray field?
Has a gray field.
That's pretty neat. Corey Coleman or Phil Taylor?
Gotta be Corey.
Yeah, that's a good call. Jury's out on colored fields, too. KD Cannon, Antoine Goodley.
Well, I got to tell you, my freshman year is when we first got Katie Cannon. And honestly, great player. And my freshman year was Antoine's senior year, and he didn't do as much that year. But if you're looking at the full picture of his career at Baylor, you're going to have to go with Antoine. I am anyway.
Goodley undefeated. Baylor or Oklahoma tonight?
I'm going Baylor by, let's go 9.
Okay, what's the final score?
I will say 80-71.
80-71. Baylor does not cover. I like that. I like that call. And who scores the most for Baylor?
Could be Jared Butler.
Give it 3 votes for Jared Butler today. All right, thanks so much for your call, Jack Wheeler. Our father, love having you on as always.
Absolutely. Take care, guys.
You too. Rolling up on our last segment here. Going to take it to a quick break. Be back for a couple more minutes to break down the Baylor basketball game, give our predictions, play a little bit of Dead or Alive, celebrity birthdays. This is Up Tempo.
At Baylor University, students can shine in their own way. Or should we say their own ways? Because there's no limit to the ways Baylor students make the world a brighter place. Whether they're leading a student organization or following a higher calling, getting advice from faculty, or taking part in world-class research, pursuing their dreams, or working toward their dream job, students find their place to shine at Baylor, where lights shine bright.
Riverbend Liquor and Wine has their easy-to-access drive-thru open and convenient and clean in-store location on the corner of Lakeshore Drive and North 19th Street in Waco. Riverbend Liquor has the best and most extensive variety of craft beer selections in Waco, and Balcones whiskey, including single malt, pot still, baby blue, rye, brimstone, and the all-new lineage in stock. Riverbend Liquor and Wine, family-owned and operated, and a hidden gem in Waco on Lakeshore Drive and 19th Street. And find out more on Facebook and Instagram.
From the first workout to the last practice, sports is an incredible challenge. Hi, this is Dan Ingram at the First National Bank of Central Texas, and we're proud to support each athlete, every parent, and our educators. From families, small businesses, to the biggest industry, we're here to help. With remarkable products like instant issue debit cards free at all of our banking centers, we've got banking ideas that fuel big dreams. The First National Bank of Central Texas, familiar faces making local decisions.
Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
Let Camille Johnson Realtors guide you seamlessly through the process of buying your dream home or selling your current one, commercial, farm and ranch, or residential. Camille Johnson Realtors can smoothly and successfully lead you through any transaction. With a team of 28 experienced agents who are excited about serving you, Camille Johnson Realtors services the entire greater Waco area. If you're in the market to buy or sell, contact Camille Johnson Realtors, 104 Midway Center in Woodway, or find them online at www.camillejohnson.com. Camille Johnson Realtors, elegant, charming, warm. Welcome home.
Waco Custom Marketplace is your home for holiday favorites for parties and the time with family. Various specials available in-store and online. A variety of steak gift boxes with 4 ribeyes for $70, 4 bacon wrapped fillets for $55, or 4 New York strips for $50, and all come with steak butter. Fall snack box for watching a game or wrapping presents or hosting people at your house, including summer sausage, split horn, and jalapeno cheese, and salted crackers for only $35. 2 pieces of lobster tails with herb butter and 2 bacon wrapped fillets for $60. Order online or call in advance to ensure availability, or drop by Waco Custom Marketplace at 425 Lake Air Drive. Waco Custom Marketplace has a full-service butcher shop for customized orders or cuts of your favorite steaks or beef tenderloin or specially ordered prime rib roast. Plus, what you want with pork, poultry, seafood, and more. Waco Custom Marketplace, 425 Lake Air Drive in Waco, or WacoCustomMarketplace.com.
Welcome back to Up Tempo on SicEm365 Radio. Here's Drake Toll.
We are back in the Petty Clinic Low T Bear Den. Final segment of the day. We got to go quick here, too. Pulling up against the end of the show. It's celebrity birthdays and this day in sports history as well. Both of those, Armstrong, these are not going to be easy. Tomorrow, we'll be joined by a whole host of awesome guests, man. I'm excited for our guest list tomorrow, as we will hear on Ryan Pugh, the new offensive line coach. Barry McKnight, the voice of the Troy Trojans, joins us. We'll also be joined by Bruce Geetzen, the voice of the Baylor Lady Bears, and Felicia Mulkey, head acrobatics and tumbling coach. She's got like 8 national championships, and she's on our show tomorrow. So, how about this, Armstrong? Celebrity birthdays.
Let's do it.
Joan of Arc. Happy birthday.
Happy birthday to the Arc family.
To Joan of Arc.
Big day.
Bride of the Arc family. How old is Joan of Arc?
400 years old.
She's 629.
Dang it.
Hey, she's flattered, though. Maddie Braps, famous rapper. How old's Maddie Braps? I remember he's huge on social media. What?
I have no clue. 25.
18. Rowan Atkinson, Mr. Bean, has a birthday today. How old is he?
65.
66.
Oh, okay.
Norman Reedus from The Walking Dead. How old is Norman Reedus on this fine Wednesday?
40.
52. I don't remember who he played. I don't know.
These are great guesses.
There's a couple sports-related ones in here somewhere. We got Jameis Winston has a big birthday today. Jameis Winston?
31.
He is 27. You're discounting him. Speaking of Jameis Winston, How about college football national championship that he didn't play in? Florida State and Auburn. Florida State wins it against Auburn. What year was that? This day in sports history?
2010. I don't know.
2014. Florida State beats Auburn. Jimbo Fisher.
Oh, yeah, duh.
John Gruden's hired as the Oakland Raiders head coach to return to football. What year?
Oh, no clue. 2003.
You're the worst. It was 2018. It was literally 2018. Wow.
I didn't really hear half the question.
Wow. We've hit the end of the show.
Kind of zoned out.
I am Drake Toll. That is Armstrong Sims. Thanks so much for joining us today. Let's do it all again tomorrow with myself alongside JD Piquel. Armstrong Sims. Always love having you on Uptempo.
Ideal MRI is a small family business right here in Central Texas. We're open to support you while lowering the cost of healthcare bills. When you need an MRI, ask your doctor for an Ideal MRI. Visit us at idealmri.com or call us at 833-IDEAL-MRI.
Boozers is the wedding ring store and more. If you're ready to get engaged or already married and want to upgrade your wife's ring for a special anniversary, Boozers is the place to go. With the largest selection of premier quality diamond engagement rings and wedding rings in Central Texas. They have 7 cases with over 300 styles of rings from top designers like Natalie Kay. Choose from yellow, white, or rose gold, plus beautiful top quality loose diamonds. With an in-house jewelry, they can also custom make anything you want. Bring in a picture or drawing and let Boozers create your one-of-a-kind pendant or ring. They can even use some of your old gold and diamond jewelry to create something new. At Boozers, you'll find a great selection of quality timepieces, and Boozers is the place for expert watch maintenance and repairs, too. They specialize in expert Rolex watch repair for fine jewelry, watches, custom work, and more. Go to Boozers on Valley Mills and Lake Air Drive in Waco.
Boozers, the wedding ring store.
One size fits all. That may be all right for an adjustable belt or cheap sunglasses, but when it comes to your financial needs, no one wants a one-size-fits-all strategy. Cam Heathcott, your Edward Jones financial advisor, knows that his most important goals are yours. That's why he takes the time to understand your needs, knowing you. That's how Edward Jones makes sense of investing. Cam Heathcott, covering Conroe and Houston, 936-756-7717 or cam.heathcott@edwardjones.com. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
Stepping into the boots of a U.S. Army officer can add confidence and leadership skills to your son or daughter's career path. See all the things they can achieve in our boots at GoArmy.com. U.S. Army Waco Recruiting Company, 254-598-8131 or 254-776-1543.
Riverbend Liquor and Wine has their easy-to-access drive-thru open and convenient and clean in-store location on the corner of Lakeshore Drive and North 19th Street in Waco. Riverbend Liquor has the best and most extensive variety of craft beer selections in Waco and Balcones whiskey, including single malt, pot still, baby blue, rye, brimstone, and the all-new lineage in stock. Riverbend Liquor and Wine, family-owned and operated, and a hidden gem in Waco on Lakeshore Drive and 19th Street. And find out more on Facebook and Instagram.